The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. What is going on, my Go Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 301. We are live, as always, on YouTube. If you're out there in the live chat, go ahead and say something. We don't know that you're out there unless you do. If you're watching this in replay or listening to this in podcast, the conversation does not have to end here. Go ahead and utilize that comment section. Tell us how bad of a job we're doing. Whatever. Troll us, whatever. Just leave a comment and let us know what you're doing. If you like the show, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe. More importantly, share this if you like the conversation or not. It is up to you. No one's watching anyway, so really, who gives a damn? Let's be honest. If you are wanting to text into the show, utilize the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by our good friends Rod and Shelly Gates over at Aegis Gun Care. That phone number is 530-364-4678. Go check out aegisguncare.com. If you're a veteran, really anybody, but especially if you're a veteran and you're in that hole, you're in the darkness, and you're looking for the light, call me, text me, email me 24/7. I cannot give you medical advice, but I might be a pretty decent ear to maybe listen to you and maybe help you through some stuff. If you are looking for someone that can get you towards some medical attention, remember two things. Number one, you are not alone in this fight. You have a lot of brothers out here that are willing and able to help you in any way possible. And two, the world is a much better place with you in it. So please utilize the Veteran Crisis Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Once again, 1-800-273-8255. Veterans press the number 1. We are spotlighting, as always, the United States Marine Corps. If you have any questions on what it takes to earn the title United States Marine, see the website marines.com. And as always, we are proud members of the Rapid Fire Radio Network and the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out all of your favorite pro-gun, pro-2A podcasts over at selfdefenseradio.net and rapidfireradio.us. If you're looking for some great deals, go check out Cape Gunworks. They have some great deals out there. I don't have any codes for you, but honestly, you probably don't need any codes because they already offer pretty great discounts. But let's take this off of my ugly mug, and let's bring in the esteemed panel for the night. We got a couple of people are going to be joining us a little bit later. But from the weirdest state in the union, the only state that it only has 4 letters, but takes 2 people to spell it out, from the great city of, or close to the city of Columbus, Ohio, we have, as Clover calls him, Chris from the 740, but we all know him as Chris from the 740. What's up, homie?
Hey, thanks for the invite. Glad to be here, and looking forward to the fireworks. I'm going to start with this conversation.
I think that I think that there might be some arguments. I think we've already had a couple discussions out there in the chat, but we're going to get to that topic here in a little bit. We're going to have some fun with it. But before we do that, we gotta pay the bills, and he does pay us to introduce him. I am his hype man. He is my shotgun rider from the great state of Texas. The tactical leprechaun himself, the man of the 380. What's up, Clove?
Yeah, Chris from the 380, I guess you could say. Huh?
You are Chris, and he is the 380. Yeah, I might have to start calling you Chris from the 380, or Chris of the 380, right?
Yeah, something like that.
The 380.
Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. And wait, hold on. 380. No, it's not. Okay, that'd be 760. Never mind. Wouldn't it? Yeah, I was supposed to say 380 is half of 740, but it's not. It's 760.
I mean, in East Texas math, it could be, you know.
It could be. I was supposed to say I'm half as tall as Chris from the 740. So,
that is true. That we both are. We both are.
Yeah,
Chris is a big old boy. He's a Bob, as we have to call him in Texas. He's a Bob, big old boy.
Yeah, totally.
You know, he's kind of got the mixture of. Well, he's kind of like Kurt Angle. The more I look at him, he looks like Kurt Angle a little bit with the longer beard. If you guys, that's one of the very few wrestling. You guys be impressed that I came up with a wrestling name. Like, I don't like wrestling, but like I came up with like an old school wrestling name. Rich White out there, the 1% should be really impressed with that. So, it is. Well, first of all, did I get that right? It is Kurt Angle, right? That is a wrestler. Anybody out there?
I think it's Angle, isn't it? Kurt Angle.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, I guess I
know. Rich
maybe it's Chris the Anvil Angle or something like that. Anvil. I don't know.
You're talking about Anvil, yeah, which is is who you're talking about, but it's not Kurt.
Oh, I don't know. For some reason, that name came to me. But the Anvil. He look like the Anvil? He could pass as the Anvil back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jim, the Heart Foundation guy, right? That's who you're talking about.
Sure,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Jim the Anvil from the Heart Foundation?
Okay, yeah, sure. Rich White is he is rolling over in his recliner right now, I promise you.
There he is.
Oh, he says Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Oh, Samsonite. That was way off.
Yeah. Wow. I knew who you were talking about, but you were saying, I was like,
I don't know why that name popped up. I just remember the Anvil.
I remember the pink outfit. You know,
yeah, that's what the pink tights. Yeah, I mean, you know, Chris could pull that off. He's the man of black. He's Johnny Cash a little bit, the man in black.
Yeah.
But I could see him rocking the pink double-shouldered onesie, wrestling onesie at SHOT Show. I think that would be especially with the combat boots. That would be a special look, man.
Yeah.
We need to make that happen, Chris. I'm just saying. You can fund any project you want if you rock the onesie at SHOT Show. There would not be a company that would say no to you, including SIG. They're like, hell yeah. Oh, so Kurt Angle is an old Olympic wrestler. I knew there was a wrestler named Kurt Angle. But
yeah, he wears a
no, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the Anvil. So whatever. What's up? You got a shotgun for us?
No, I barely made it. Man.
Bro, you're paying me to pump you up and to hype you up. The least you could do is show up. The least you could do is show up prepared. Okay,
I pay you. I just pay you to not do any damage to my persona. That's why I pay.
Well, you know, I can't promise that at all. Like you're screwed.
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of screwed, standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, such a fine sight to see. It's a ginger, my lord, and a flatbed Ford. What's up, John the soulless ginger bastard? What's up?
Oh, not much. Maybe. Just driving home from work, and if Clover doesn't have a shotgun, I've got one.
Well, at least someone came prepared. What's up? What you got?
I saw it last night. It is a 410 revolving lever action shotgun.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. It is I'll say it again. It's a 410 revolver lever action shotgun. I can't remember the name on it. Nick Lynch from We Like Shooting turned me on to it last night. He shot me a text with it, and I was like, that is the weirdest, most interesting thing I've ever seen.
Turkish?
Yes, it is Turkish.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned
what does that mean?
So it's like a circuit judge, like the Taurus judge.
Oh, snap. Okay.
It's a revolver, but it's lever action.
I thought you said revolving, like a revolving barrel. I'm like, how does that work on a shotgun, you know?
Yeah, I misworded it. Yeah, it's a revolver shotgun.
Okay, so it's a revolver lever action 410 shotgun.
Yes.
Wow.
I thought it was interesting, and since Clover didn't have one, I figured I'd help him a little bit with this.
We are already getting some really awesome comments. We're going to get to the fight of the century here in a little bit, but thanks for coming in, John. I hope your pimp's okay with you standing on the corner in Winslow. I hope you're making enough money to pay him off, but thanks for coming on, bud. I'm surprised you still have a job. I'm just saying. It's an inside joke, but I'm surprised you still have a job. All right, you guys know that every Thursday, Saturday, and Monday we have the pony polls over on our YouTube.
And who sponsors tab. That?
Well, I was getting ready to get to that if you would interrupt me.
Well.
The pony polls on our YouTube community tab, presented by Anderson Manufacturing. Go check out AndersonManufacturing.com. Go to all of their social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Find a post that you like and utilize the hashtag Pony Express 2024. I'm going to let Ginger over here explain to you what we're doing with the hashtag.
So Pony Express 2024 is our grassroots marketing campaign to get Anderson Manufacturing to make a double barrel side by side 3.5 inch coach gun called the Pony Express. It was an idea we had a while back. It's the greatest idea we've ever had, and Anderson needs to make this happen. So with our grassroots effort to push this forward and peer pressure them into making the Pony Express double barrel shotgun.
Absolutely. All right, let's check out this week's polls. I tell you what, I'm not going to lie. This one has been one of the most interesting to look at some of the comments on. This first one was put out yesterday. It's got 1.6 thousand votes. Who wins in a fight, Bert or Ernie? Chris, who wins in a fight, Bert or Ernie? Right?
I have no idea who would win that fight. Was Bert? The Bert was like the taller, linkier one, wasn't he?
Yeah, he like the conehead looking guy.
Yeah, I'll go with Bert. Longer arm reach. Let's just go with that.
Oh, snap. All right. Clover, Bert or Ernie, who wins that fight?
Ernie. Lower center of gravity. He can bob and weaves quicker. Smaller head, smaller target. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah. Ginger, Bert or Ernie? Now, for reference, John, Bert and Ernie were characters in Sesame Street. It's a show on PBS that ran for like 50 years. It even still might be running for all I know. I'm not sure.
And it's basically puppets. Yeah.
It's puppets.
Okay.
Puppets on acid, really.
Is that the one with the Rubber Ducky song?
It's the one with Big Bird. Have you heard of Big Bird?
It's a Rubber Ducky song.
That's Big Bird, yes.
All right. Well, my initial thought was going to be Ernie because he's got all that built up, pent up aggression, and he's small and he's an angry person. But I think Bert.
So he's basically Clover.
Yeah, but I think Bert's been abused for so many years that he's just going to destroy him. I'm sorry. Yep. That's just my opinion on that one.
So I've enjoyed this because, hold on real quick, because I'll lose my train of thought. You know me. I've enjoyed the comments because there are comments of like the tales of the tape and pre-fight, like heavyweight analysis that would make Max Kellerman on HBO like lose his shit and become like an amateur. So I've had more. It was not the intention, but I have turned into this one says Bert's ready to blow up, but he's always quiet and thinking. Ernie's mind is too busy to think of a strategic attack. I feel Bert that another one says I feel Bert that extra reach will help the jab game. Bert carries a Glock, so I think he has the win. Bert has the height and reach, but Ernie looks like he's crazier, and you don't want to mess with crazy. Ernie would snap, lose his shit, and there would be nothing left of Bert. Bert's big old head is a huge target, and I'm sure Ernie's proficient in puppet dough. So, Rubber Ducky will have his say in this. No way Ernie's crazier. Ernie don't give a blank. This one is my favorite. I am more curious, Ghost, as to why this question. Why is it even brought up? If you look through the eyes of a child within, nobody wins. Ironically, I think there is a heart something country's a love song, country song with those words in it. Why the question? Because I thought it'd be funny. Let's just be honest. I just thought it would be a good time. And Ernie's Roach out there says that's bullshit because Bert has 59% of the votes. So Ernie got pissed that Bert won with 59% of the votes. That said, I do believe that some of the greatest pre-fight tales of the tape analysis I've seen in a long, long time. Go ahead, Clover. I know I interrupted you.
Oh, you're fine. I was just going to say that was close on that, big time. I don't know if there's ever been a poll that close.
You know, there has been a couple, but not really. You know, most of them are blowouts. But I saw something. I don't even remember how I saw it. I saw something online talking about Bert and Ernie. I was like, you know, who would win in a fight? Let's just go ahead and throw this up there. And people had fun with it, and I enjoy it. I love the pre-fight analysis. We need more of that in the comments. So that was great. Mass Killerman's, you know. He needs some help.
I was just going to say that I was a little bit triggered there for a while because I've heard Bert so many times, and that's our code word for danger. Bert, Bert, Bert. And so I was confused. Just saying. Yeah,
no, I hear it. 1% out there says Bert wins. He'd cheat and throw his pigeons at Ernie. Ernie only has the rubber ducky. Ernie has a lower center of gravity, and most fights go to the ground, better base. These are great comments in the live chat. These are great pre-fight analysis.
How do we know the rubber ducky is not a hand grenade, though?
This is true. We have to assume certain things. It has not exploded yet in 50 years, so we might have to make the assumption that either that or he hasn't pulled a pin yet. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Right.
Ron the Bullet Guy says Rossi makes or did the circuit judge in a lever action. Waldo out there says who wins, Glock or CZ, and the winner is, well, we'll find out what that poll says here, and then we'll have our own little discussion. Like I said, 1.6 thousand votes, and it is now, people are still live voting. It has gone up to 60-40 for Bert. Bert is going to take it with a 60-40 split. They're saying that the champ is going to keep his belt. Ernie being a challenger in this fight, possibly. All right, Saturday's got poll 2.6 thousand votes. Pretty simple, guys. What do you choose? Cheeseburger or a steak? Clover, what do you choose?
Cheeseburger.
Ginger? Chris?
Moving on.
I'm going to go with cheeseburger just because steak's kind of one of the things I want to sit down and enjoy.
Here's the thing. You're not going to get a good steak. You're not even going to get a decent steak. We know this for a fact. At an old people casino in Boulder for $9.99 at midnight. However, you are going to be able to get a good cheeseburger. I'm just saying.
And then write a Yelp review. So yeah. $9.99 steak dinner at midnight in an old person casino in Vegas.
We love you, Mike. Love you,
Mike. But exactly what the hell were you expecting? Let's just be honest. It looks like Ginger's pimp put him back to work. He'll come by and stop here in a second. Maybe it was so funny. That's possible. It's considering I don't have checks. If there's a check out there, Venmo, it's very possible.
The Venmo didn't go through, or whatever the kids
maybe
nowadays.
No, that's true. But I linked my Venmo to your bank account. I didn't know if you knew that or not. But
I was wondering where all the money was going.
Right.
I got plenty of it. It's all good.
You know what's so funny is the comments on this one got 2.6 thousand votes, and it's a landslide victory. 71% say steak. And a lot of people are asking, why would you put steak and a cheeseburger head to head? And I'm going to say this. I mean, I love steak, but I'm more prone to eat my own steaks because unless I'm going to a really nice steakhouse that I know it's going to be a good cut of meat and they're going to prepare it right, I'll put my steaks against most steakhouses, and I eat my own steaks. That said, a lot of people may not have one around them that have truly had a really good like diner steak, like a burger joint, like the smash burger. Like they've never had like a really good smash burger that you can find like a diner or something like that. We've got several around here that there's one that's about literally 3 minutes from my house. It might be the best burger in the state of Arkansas. Like literally it's usually in the top 2 or 3 in the state, voted on by the people, best burgers in the state of Arkansas. So I'm very blessed. But if you've never had like a really, really like legit smash burger, there's a reason why burgers can be really good. And like Clover said, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you were probably going to hit on it. What I was going to say is that, the thing is, if you tweak that question a little bit to say which one, if you had to give one up for the rest of your life, which would you give up? Like cheeseburger. Cheeseburger would be hard to give up. It would be hard to give up because even though a good steak is leaps and bounds better than even a good cheeseburger, like you're not going to be getting them that often, as often as you would a cheeseburger. So like what would you had if you gave up cheeseburger? You can't substitute that with steak because you couldn't afford it if all you ate was high dollar good steak, right?
Yeah, and here's the thing you also got to think of is I would generally choose steak over cheeseburger because my favorite food in the world is a very well prepared steak, right? That's just how I am. That said, if I had to give one up, I probably would give up a steak because you can enjoy a cheeseburger more often. Like you said, whether it's price or whatever, I love steaks, but eating a 14 or 16 ounce steak or even a 12-ounce steak, enough times it's a heavier food than a burger is, like you get the refreshing side of the lettuce and all that stuff that you can add things, you can put guacamole on a burger and make it, a Southwest burger, some peppers and all that, steak, you're kind of getting a steak, yeah. Were you going to say something? No.
Wasn't. Ginger's back.
Okay. I saw you on mute, so I didn't know if you were getting ready to jump in or not. Ginger, is the pimp let you talk again?
Yeah, just dead zone on the highway.
No, I get it.
Everything off.
Who do you choose? A cheeseburger or a steak?
I'd have to go steak, but it also depends on where I'm eating. So
okay.
If it's the Sizzler, I'm not having the steak. I'm having the cheeseburger. But if it's a good
That's fair too. That's fair too. There are specific restaurants that might serve both that you would choose a burger over a steak. I would probably choose a burger over a steak at like Waffle House. Let's be honest. I like the awful waffle. I'm not going to lie, but I would probably choose a burger over a steak at Waffle House. That's just me.
Like steak and eggs is pretty good at those joints.
It is good. It is good. If it's at 2 o'clock in the morning, but if I'm eating at 7 o'clock, I'm going to get me a burger.
That's what I'm saying, but it's pretty good. But is it typically as good as their burgers? No.
G23 says, there goes the Philly at Tulsa. No. I am not from Philadelphia, so I've never been to Philly, so I have no true reference point as to a true Philly cheesesteak, right? I will say that I would not call myself a connoisseur of cheesesteaks, but they're one of my favorite things in this world. It's a top 5 food for me ever. I have had cheesesteaks all over the world, literally, and will always, if a cheesesteak is available, I'm probably going to try it, right? The one in Tulsa is among, I will not put it and says it's the best. I will say that the cheesesteak in Tulsa at Wanamaker is among the top 3 that I've ever had. It's a little expensive, but it is good. Chris, you've had it. Clover, you've had it. Where does the Tulsa cheesesteak rank in your eyes?
Well, I have had a lot of cheesesteak in Philly, and they are good.
Okay.
But that one in Tulsa is damn close.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, let's be honest. At this point, I've been to Wanamaker enough times where I love going there. I love seeing my friends there. I love going to Wanamaker. It's the largest gun show in the world. It is awesome. I'm not going to lie. At least 50% of the reason why I go so often now is not because of going to the gun show anymore. It's because of the cheesesteak. I'm not going to lie. That's what it is. The cheesesteak for lunch each day. And then we have our special place that all of us go out to eat on Saturday night. And it's nice to get 10, 15, 20 of us together in the fellowship and just hanging out at eating a good steak, if you will. But like I said, man, I have not had a true cheesesteak from Philly, but it might be a top 3. I'll put it this way. It may not be the number 1, but I can't think of any other cheesesteaks I've ever had that actually beats it. There might be 2 or 3 that it ties and all that, but I don't know that I've ever had a better cheesesteak in the world than the one at Wanamaker. Clover, where do you just started indulging in a cheesesteak a couple years ago at Wanamaker? Where does it fit in your scale?
The one at Wanamaker is pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
all the food at Wanamaker actually is pretty damn good. Let's be honest.
True. Yeah, because the reason I didn't get to Philly for so long is, first of all, the line is so backed up, and
it
they
is,
run out of crap, and that is, man, like you got to be Johnny on the spot to get.
They ran out of cheese. Was it 2 or 3 years ago? Hilariously, like literally ran out of cheese. There was that many people ordering it,
and the pulled pork there is just amazing. So that's what I had always gotten, Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge cheesesteak fan. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, really? Okay. But you like this one, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Now, G23, he's trying to catch me on a technicality, and I don't accept this premise. He says if you give up steak, then no more Philly. Well, I don't believe that's the premise that I'm going to go with.
Be giving up a burger too, potentially, then. So, like,
I didn't say I'm giving up beef. I said I'm giving up. When I think steak, I think like a strip or a ribeye or filet or whatever that are like cut steaks, not. Because let's be honest. Let's be honest.
Or chopped or ground.
Not sliced and what you're getting in a cheesesteak is not like its choice, much less prime. It's steakum basically. So it may not even be true steak. But I don't believe that if I give up, I'm going to get a vote from the panel because and you better not fuck me on this, boys. If I have to give up steak, do I have to give up cheesesteaks as well? I know you want to say I had to give up cheesesteaks, aren't you? You're really wanting to push that way, but you're pissed.
Nope.
No good. So Ginger, God, the bastard's going to be the deciding vote. You don't mess me up on this.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's steak.
You can stay.
There's a little difference. I mean, but then
there's
like
beef.
a bunch of other
a ton of difference.
Yeah, but then would you have to give up like beef tips and all that other stuff? Does that count in that category? You're just diving.
Ooh, that's a great question. Would I have to give up like stir fry or stew meat? If
you don't have to cut it with a knife, then you don't have to give it up.
I like it. So stew meat's okay. Stir fry meat's okay.
Yeah.
Ground beef's okay. Steakum's okay.
Who gets a steak and then walks around and like Joey at the thing and eats it with one hand?
This is true.
Like
now, I will say this: there have been a couple steaks that I've been fortunate enough in my life to have that you did not need a knife to cut. You could literally with the fork.
Yeah, but you didn't pick it up and eat it like with your.
This
hand.
is true.
Like,
so let me give you this: prime rib. Is rib? I don't consider that necessarily a steak. Prime rib. Do I have to give prime rib up if I give up steaks? That's talking about. Now that's closer to give up than in my eyes. I could be okay with you guys saying give up prime rib.
That would be prime rib, though. To me, prime rib is almost like a roast or something. And so if somebody slices
a pot roast.
So but you're gonna slice that off, right? You're gonna. It's different. You're not gonna eat the whole thing.
Yep.
So it's different.
RTT out there is calling a cheesesteak steak is like calling Taco Bell authentic Mexican food. That's what I'm talking about. Now, Rich said that a lot of cheesesteaks are made with ribeye, not the ones that I've had, at least that I don't know of. Prime rib is considered a steak. Man, Rich is like the biggest killjoy out there. Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Isn't
Like, he's
prime
trying to
rib
get
cooked all at once though, like a
It is. It's like
roast?
it's like a big ass roast. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a
Yeah.
big, and you slice it.
How can that be considered a steak? Like, no,
Yes.
just no, because you don't cook the entire whatever part the strips come from and then cut them into strips. That's the whole premise of it being the steak.
I agree.
So if you cook it all at once and it's cooked and then you slice it, it's no longer a steak.
I think Rich is a hater. I'm just going to go out there and just say he's hating. And
He's just trying. He's mad because you screwed up the wrestling reference earlier. That's what it is.
He is, and he's mad because he probably got denied his VA claim for Wii hockey. Let's be honest. You know, he has that wrist injury from Wii hockey that he's trying to get VA to pay for. He's taking it out on me. I don't understand it. I didn't do it.
I thought it was Wii cricket, but
it very well could be. Very well could be. Does Arby's beef and cheddar count as a cheesesteak? No. Arby's
not.
roast beef sandwich is its own
Roast
animal,
beef.
and it's beautiful. It is
Roast
wonderful.
beef. Yeah, it's roast beef. Come on.
We had an Arby's open up here last year, and man, I love me some beef and cheddar. That's some good stuff right there, boys. All right. 71% say they choose a steak over a cheeseburger. There isn't a wrong answer because we can make an argument for both. Let's just be honest. Someone's talking about a tomahawk out there. A tomahawk. If you never had a tomahawk and you can afford it, introduce yourself to a tomahawk. It's pretty impressive.
You know, I've never had one.
Really, you need to. You need to sometime. Be careful though, because a good tomahawk's going to cost you a lot. It's going to cost a pretty penny, right? But you're going to see people that are advertising tomahawks for like $40 or $50 and all that. Probably not a true tomahawk, but if you ever get a chance to, Chris, it is expensive, and you could probably split it with the wife or something. You know what I'm saying, to make it a 2-person meal. But it is honestly amazing. It is truly, truly amazing. My daughter has nothing to do with tomahawk. My daughter went somewhere on a trip. They went to Boston, maybe, or no, they went to Dallas. I can't remember. And a friend of theirs took them out to dinner to a steakhouse, and they took them to the steakhouse because it served Wagyu steaks. And true Wagyu beef and steaks are charged by the pound, and it's usually honestly like $40 to $50 a pound. So you're talking about a 10 ounce steak costing anywhere from $400 to $500, right? So she's like, yeah, he's taking us to get Wagyu steaks. I'm like, what? Like, there's no way he's going to spend, $2,000 on a meal because y'all are there. And so she was talking. I said, well, how was the Wagyu? She goes, it was okay. And I was like, then you didn't have true Wagyu. And I said, how much did it cost? She's like, it was like 30 or 35 or $40. I'm like, oh, hell no. It might have been shipped in from like the same farm, but it wasn't. I said, babe, $40 an ounce is what they charge. So if you had a 10 ounce, that was a $400 steak. He goes, oh, that wasn't what we had. So Wagyu's great, but yeah, Chris, get a tomahawk sometime. You'll say thank you later. All right, our last poll is going to transition us right into the conversation. This was put out last Thursday. 2.6 thousand votes. Choose one: the Glock 19 or the CZ75. Ginger, if your pimp lets you talk, Glock 19, CZ75. What do you take?
Oh, that was a tough one, but I'm going to go with the classic and take the CZ75, even though the Glock's almost as old, I guess, ish. But I'm going CZ75. It's a smoother gun. It's got some weight behind it. Just overall, just a nicer gun.
Okay. I love how he says the CZ75 is classic. We'll get into that in a second. Chris.
I like how he said something about the Glock was almost as old. Like, what are you smoking? Especially you said 19, right?
We're going to educate. Yeah, 19. It was like 88, 89, something like that for the Glock 19. Yeah. We're going to educate the young buck here in a second. Chris from the 740.
Out of those two, I'm going with the Glock 19.
Yeah, very, very good. Clover.
Oh, I will and I have CZ75.
I get it. I don't mind either one of them. I obviously I choose a Glock 19, but the argument that the CZ75 is a classic and it's a classic design and it's and all this stuff. The CZ75 was not even an original design, guys. So don't tell me that CZ, came up with this classic design. If you've never looked at it, guys, and you are familiar with the high power at all, you're going to see quite a bit of influence from there. You've got, it's a SIG-ish look. I'm not sure which model. I think it was like the 210, maybe? Am I right about the 210? Okay.
210, yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad gun at all. I'm not a CZ guy. I put that out there because I know that CZ and Glock, for better or for worse, take it for what it is, are two of the most passionate fanboy bases in our community. And I figured there's no better way to get a nice conversation started than making someone pick between the 75 and the 19. I almost went 17, but the 19 has sold more than the 17 overall, so I figured I would go with the 19. RTT says the CZ-P10 versus the Glock 19 is closer. I'm not trying to have you decide between polymer frame striker fired pistols. That's not what I went for. It was the Glock 19 and whatever configure, like however, how it's made versus the CZ-75. Both great guns. They're not the same. They're not even really supposed to be in the same sentence. But if you had to choose one, you've got two of them right there. Which one do you choose? What were you going to say, Clove?
Well, I disagree with the whole premise that the CZ75 was some type of a copied design.
I never said it was a copy design, but it's not a classic design like a high power. I think high power is a classic design.
That's because you're not into the competition world or things of that nature.
I am in the competition world.
You're not talking. Well, apparently you're not shooting.
I shot a Glock 19. I shot Glock 19 in competitive shooting.
That's great, but there's tons and tons and tons of people that run CZs in.
I'm not saying they are,
or things that have copied CZ, like a Tanfoglio, for example.
I get that, but CZ-75 is not a complete original design.
But it is not. It is not a high power like the grip.
I never said it was a high power. I said it's influenced by the high power. 100%. It's high. You can look at a CZ-75 and know that's got some influence in there.
Nope.
Right?
Disagree.
Okay. No, you don't have to agree with me. But I don't. But there's nothing that the Glock 19 was copied after.
This is true.
So
that's why it looks like a brick.
Well, you know what? And that's why this conversation
they're not the same. I know
they're not. They're not the same.
They're not the same. So I mean, it's like it's really easy to argue one way or the other.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Is that's why I went with these two guns, because I knew this exact thing is, and it's been happening since before the show started. It was hilarious. You've got two great guns. Great guns. You can't go wrong with either one of them. Pick one. Before we start the conversation, let's go ahead and say that Glock 19 had 71% of the vote, which I, honest to God, I did think the Glock 19 would win, right? Okay, Artec, that's fair. He says the 19 is a copy of the 17. Okay, that's fair. You got me. But these two guns are iconic. They are classic. They are classic designs. I don't care what anybody says, whether I'm not a CZ guy, but I can recognize a great gun. I can sit there and say it's not a classic original design, whatever. It's all part of the bullshit and all that. They are both phenomenal guns. And if you're out there, you can't go wrong with either one of them. One of them is going to be a metal base gun. One's going to be a polymer base gun. One's going to have different things that it's going to bring in to the game. I want to say most 75. Now, let me ask you guys this. I'm not familiar with like the original 75s. Were the original 75s, were they ambidextrous back in the day, or they transitioned to that later on?
No, they weren't ambi.
They were not originally. Okay.
No.
I wasn't sure. But no, I think the biggest thing about both these guns is they've stood the test of time. Regardless if you're a CZ fanboy or you're a Glock fanboy or you're a CZ hater or a Glock hater, when you talk about the top 10 handguns, or at least 9mm handguns, those two are going to be in the conversation.
Yeah,
it's just what it is.
Here's my thing about the whole copied, and I get what you're saying about Glock.
Okay,
but is it fair to go? Well, so copied that. Because if you was to design a handgun today with everything that's been manufactured in the last umpteen jillion years,
you have to copy something. Yeah,
you can not intentionally. You could sit down and literally draw out the schematics and put it all into CAD, and you haven't even looked at another design or taken measurements, and people are going to go, "Oh, you copied this from that, this from that." No, you
absolutely
copied is intent. And I'm
absolutely
99.9% sure that there wasn't any intent with CZ to copy anything. And I think that's evident by the difference in the trigger in the 210, the difference in the grip swell.
Yeah.
The bore axis is there like the 210, right?
Yep.
It does have that attribute. I'll give you that. The high point, maybe with like frame width,
high
frame
power.
length,
Oh God!
the high
Do
power.
not ever don't you do that to John Brown. Oh my God, Moses Brown will be. It's not getting the high point. Oh my! Talking about a slip of the tongue. There are people out there that are going to be rolling around their graves right now.
Hey, if we want to talk original, design,
okay. Yeah.
Which High Point's been around for many, many years under other names, but
under
that design,
names, sure, absolutely.
Like they definitely didn't copy anybody's crap with that. For sure.
No, they did not.
Maybe they should have. Maybe
right
they
there says, hello, it's all about
things.
High Point. End of story. That's true.
Yeah.
There you go. That was funny. That was a Freudian slip, if you will. Maybe
it was. But what I was saying is the way that the slide rides the frame. Is similar to that, and then the frame around the trigger guard and stuff like that has a little bit of similarity to a high power. Yeah, but a high power is a lot larger, a lot higher bore axis.
Yep.
A totally different grip angle.
RTAC says high power and High Point, same 9mm round. There's that. That's the only. Well, this is true too, but that's the only thing that you can compare the High Point 9mm to the high power. Let's be honest, and I own both. So, but that's High Point and high power should never ever collide in the same sentence.
Well,
let's be honest.
And then there's something to be said about Glock because it takes Glock mags, right? I mean, come on.
The Glock mag argument is relative this time in this world. Everything's just going to take Glock mags. So that right there, that proves that Glock is a better gun, because how many PCCs out there do you know that it boasts, hey, we take CZ75 mags? I don't hear any. All Glock mags. We take CZ mags.
So to be fair with that,
yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of mag bodies that are carried over from the CZ75. Now the cutouts for the what am I thinking? The release, the lock and release, and the floor plate design and some of that, but the actual body itself, a lot of that's similar. Like the Beretta 92s and the CZs are real close, and they won't work because all the cutouts are different. But
Woods out there, one word: revolvers. All right, so let's throw this around the room. Let's go down this rabbit hole. Why the hell not? If CZ and Glock come out at SHOT 2024 and announce they are going to put out revolvers for their lineup, which one do you guys, and let me know on the chat as well, which one do you think that you'd be more interested in? Not saying you'd get one or whatever. Which ones you'd be more interested in? I'll start with Clover on this one since you're already unmuted. Glock and CZ are going to put out new revolvers for the 2024 line.
So interestingly enough, doesn't CZ own Colt now?
Do they own Colt?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they?
Yeah.
So are they okay? So what you're saying is they're going to come out with a Colt revolver stamped in CZ. Is that what you're saying? It's actually possible.
It could happen. It's much more possible than Glock doing anything.
Well, I'm just saying, regardless of the scenarios, regardless of the probability of it, if both of them happen to come out with revolvers in shot 2024, which one would you be more interested in looking at? Would you go to the Glock booth or the CZ booth first, Clover?
I would probably go to the Glock booth first because
really interesting.
Of just what we're talking about. CZ has absorbed Colt, so there's obviously going to be tooling and design and
already in place,
and there would be things like that going on. By the way, there's the Czech Republic. There's a lot of revolvers coming out of the Czech Republic, just so folks know. Anyway. The Rock Island one, for example, is one of them. The AL series that they sell. Anyway,
CZ owns Dan Wesson also. That's what they're saying out there.
Yeah. The reason the Glock, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, is it would be something original at least for Glock. It would be something completely
100%.
out of left field or whatever. So that's intriguing. I would have to go probably to pay my respects to old man Glock because
he'd have to be dead.
Obviously, he's dead, gone cold, and buried in the ground.
Gaston is no longer with us. If Glock comes out with
so I'd have to drop by to pay my respects. But having the Taurus Protector Poly in my EDC rotation. The idea of poly in a revolver is also intriguing because I really like that revolver.
Just real quick before I move on to Ginger and Chris, poly revolvers, yay, nay, you a fan of them, or does it matter on the model or manufacturer?
The one I've got, I love, man. The one I've got, I love. It's in my EDC rotation. I like it that much.
Okay. All right. Nice. Ginger, Glock or CZ revolver? Which booth are you visiting first?
Well, I'm with Clover. Old man Glock would be dead, so that'd be the first thing I would have to do.
Yeah.
I'd have to go CZ only because they have the lineage and the toolage from Colt and Dan Wesson to make probably a better product.
So you're saying they're probably making a better revolver. Yeah. That wasn't a question. Which one would you be intrigued more by?
Well, intriguing wise it'd have to be Glock because it's out of left field. There's nothing. They've stuck with the same pattern of gun for the last 40 years. So if they come out with anything different, everybody's going to jump on it and want a piece of it.
Yep. Christopher, what you got?
Well, I absolutely hate revolvers. I don't enjoy shooting them.
Thank you. So you're redeeming yourself from the steak conversation. I'll let you stay. You muted yourself.
I guess I would be more intrigued by the Glock one just because Glock's making a revolver. But honestly, I don't care about who. Either one of them can make one, and I don't care.
Yep. I would go see the Glock revolver before I would go see the CZ revolver just because what the hell? Like you said, I'd have to wear black that day and show my respects to Gaston Dime because that's the only way that happens. I love Ron the Bullet Guy, a little smart assery. I love it. Depends on what mags it would take. That'd be great. That's a great line. Well done, sir. Well played.
Glock revolver that takes Smith & Wesson mags. There you go.
Oh, it's based off the Smith & Wesson cylinder, possibly.
Yeah. Well, that could be.
Yeah.
Or frame
all right, let's just have some fun with this shit. Glock revolver. All right, Glock revolver. What should be the first caliber they come out with? I say it would probably be 357 Magnum would be the best one. But what would you guys choose? Go ahead and we don't have to go in order.
45 gap. If you're going to go
45 gap. So you're thinking with G23. You agree with G23 on something. That's interesting.
Yeah, if Glock's going to do it, why not?
Do it big. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. I like that.
Make 45 gap great again. And you know what? Maybe
What if they come out with a
45
9mm revolver for Glock? Wouldn't that be fun?
I'm just thinking that maybe if Glock did that, maybe the 45 gap would actually be worth shooting in a revolver. That's just all I'm saying.
Well, I think that if Glock comes out with a revolver, they're going to come out with 9mm just because it's what it is. It's what they do the best.
Oh, there's almost no doubt that's what it will be. It would be, or whatever. Yeah.
You know, people keep talking about like a Glock AR. I think a Glock PCC comes before an AR, and I think it'll be chambered in 9mm using Glock mags. So, Ginger, what caliber Glock revolver? Which one?
Well, seeing that Clover took mine, I'm gonna have to say 327 Federal Magnum or 9mm, but 327 Federal Magnum would be cool.
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
That's a sweet cartridge. Plus, you can run 32s and.
You can run 32s. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Don't give me the line. What all you can run?
Ballistics wise, is it softer than a 357 or what?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
It's
like a 38 special, or how does it compare to the 38 special?
Well, it's like a third. I wouldn't say it's like
as far as like the ballistics of it and the power of it.
It's like a 9. It's from my understanding, I think it's like a 125 grain projectile going at like 14.
So it is like a 9mm.
It's basically a 9mm, but it's a rimmed cartridge, so you don't got to worry about clips. And
it's going at like 1450 FPS, so it's a fast cartridge. But like Clover said, you can do 32 H&R, 32 H&R Magnum, 32 ACP. There's so many rounds you could shoot out of it. It's insane.
Huh. I never even heard of that. So interesting. Chris, if you're like me and you get to carry calamine lotion to touch a revolver, what cartridge do you think that Glock should come out with first?
Well, I'm going to go with, I have shot a lot of revolvers and I don't like them, but one of the rounds that I really like to shoot out of a revolver is 454 Casull. So let's go with that.
Okay. Now I could get on board with that. That could be pretty badass.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be brave enough to fire a 454
on a polymer revolver. That's fair. That's a fair point.
It's like jumping out of a plane.
It'd be great for one round, you know.
I'm not worried about like recoil, right? I'm not. I've shot 460s and 500s and whatever.
No, you're talking about the gun surviving
I don't know that you could build one that would hold up.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be great for one shot.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
One shot. That's a single shot. Single shot Glock revolver. Not on purpose. That'd be great. Autumn out there says that 327 Federal is slightly more power than a 30 Super Carry. Okay. RTT says they should make revolver in 7.62 by 54R. Holy shit.
Do they not make one of the BFGs or whatever that are BFRs that are chambered in?
Do they make a BFR? I don't know. That could be interesting.
I know they make a lot of calibers in the BFR, a lot of cartridges in the BFR. So I don't know what. Yeah, just saying. You know,
you take this for what it's worth, and G23 loves 40, so you just take it for what it's worth. He says, how about a Glock 5.7? You know,
5.7 revolver?
No, I think he's just talking about a Glock 5.7.
Oh.
I'm surprised, honestly, that hasn't come out. Maybe it is in Europe. I don't know, but I am surprised that it hasn't come out already.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't get that. I'm surprised we didn't get that before we did the 22. The 22 volts.
Yeah. What'd you say, Ginger?
We'll probably end up seeing that at SHOT this year.
I mean, I have a feeling, you know, and that's really the 3030 BFR is a real thing. A 3030 BFR. Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, 4570. Trying to think of some of the other.
Yeah, 4570 BFR. That could be. Oh, that'd be. I don't know if it'd be fun. Yeah, it would be fun. I'm not gonna lie. That would be fun. That's something I could get behind. For sure. Yeah. I gotta go back up here. I forgot to start because I'm not very smart, but I did see something that I wanted
to. You got to realize a lot of people freak out when they hear of something like They think of a 45-70 and a revolver, and they're like, "Oh my God!" You got to realize that with large bore,
Yeah.
it's a large bore, so there's more
Yeah.
room in that barrel for the gases for everything to
Sure.
escape.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not nearly as bad as it sounds.
Yeah. No, for sure. Let's go through this. Let's ask a question because I'm interested in what you guys think. I don't know. I don't think we brought it up before. Glock. All right. We talked about eventually Gaston is going to pass, right? We know this is coming sooner than later, unfortunately. It's just a matter of, I mean, the guy's not young anymore. We've all joked about somewhere in someone's desk drawer, there's designs for the AR, the 1911, a revolver, if you will, whatever, we're talking about that's only going to come out when Gaston goes. What do we think's going first? Like outside of like the Glock family, like the new, whether it's a 1911 or some kind of hammer fired or an AR or a revolver. Like, honestly, what are we talking about here? What do we honestly think is going to come first? John, what do you think?
It's the AR because they did that military contract with Britain. So
yeah, the design's out there. Now, but here's the thing. Do they go with the 5.56 or are they going to go with a PCC in your mind?
I would say the 5.56 just because it's a new step for them. So, and the design's done and they don't have to put the R&D into it and everything. So they already have that one ready to go. And then it's inevitably, I think at the same time, if not within the months, it's the PCC.
Yeah. Now, Jacob out there says, who or what is Gaston? Gaston Glock. Can't explain it more than that. And the old man it's Glock. He is Glock. And as old as he is, I don't remember how he's got to be close to 90, if not more. But apparently, people that are kind of know the inner workings of Glock, he is still highly involved and still makes final decisions on everything before a product is gone. So that's, when you hear Gaston,
94.
He's 94. Wow.
94.
He's older than I thought. I thought he was maybe like 88 to 90, somewhere in there, but he's older than I thought.
Yeah, born in 1929.
I'll be damned. Wow.
Actually,
Chris,
he just had a birthday. He was born on the 19th. So happy late birthday.
Of July. Happy late birthday, Gaston. 94 years old. That's awesome. Well, since you're already unmuted, Clover, what do you think? Which design do you think is coming first from Glock?
Oh, it'll be a PCC. There's no doubt a PCC it's in a drawer somewhere in a file folder somewhere where Gaston can't see it, but all the CAD files and everything else are probably in there.
I'd be willing to bet that there is a prototype somewhere as well, that he hadn't seen yet.
Well,
someone's made one to keep it from
especially with the rifles that we know are already out there. Like, there's for talking about for commercial market release anyway. They'll rechamber and tweak a few things. Might even go all polymer with it, which I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't know that. I don't think I'd like that. I would not.
I'm not a fan. Well, but you have other PCCs that are polymer. Is your Storm not polymer?
It is. And that's why, I mean, I don't want an all polymer. I just don't.
Well, it would be interesting.
I love the Storm, but I mean, I just don't want an all polymer. That's just me.
But here's the thing. Follow me on this for a minute. So I'm not a fan of, and never have been, of poly uppers in an AR. I got a drawer of them over there that have failed, and on other people's rifles that I've replaced the upper.
You're talking hand guards and all that stuff, right?
No, I'm talking the upper receiver.
Oh, I thought you said furniture. I'm sorry. I thought you said furniture. Okay,
no, I've got a drawer over there with, I don't know, there's 6 or 8 or 10. I don't even know how many's over there that I've replaced over the years. A Bushmaster Carbon 15, for example, was one of them. Anyway, bad idea on a poly upper where all the violence and everything and the hot gases and all that stuff happened in an AR. But here's the thing. like it would be interesting to see that not only in a 9mm because it's a little different in the way it operates, the pressures, the gases, the other things. But you're talking about Glock, who has been long-term playing the poly game, right? Doing that. We're not talking about
not saying they created it, but they mastered the poly game, right?
Yeah. They're definitely on the cutting edge of that. They kind of have to be. And they pioneered, and they're also on the cutting edge of it. So so it would be interesting to see what they can do with that from my perspective, just knowing how horrible poly.
Now, are you talking upper receivers? Are you talking hand guards, furniture, and all? You're talking just the upper receiver itself, right?
I'm talking basically the whole thing is. I'm not
the whole thing being.
It can't all be. It can't all be polymer. It can't all be polymer because obviously you have to have some metal in there with the chamber and the barrel and a
right.
But yeah, like a Glock is now.
The shell of it being all polymer.
Just like a Glock is now. The vast majority of it being polymer, except for like the bolt and some of the internals in the barrel, right? I think Glock could pull it off, especially in a PCC. I think they could pull it off. Now, I don't know that they could in a rifle caliber, but in a PCC, I bet they could.
Yeah. No.
And it would be cheap for them to make. It would be much cheaper.
No, it would. No. It would. But I don't think they'd do it cheap. I think they'd charge whatever they want, and they knew that people would buy it. Once
Gaston is gone, probably. But with him around, like, he's really big on that. And I don't know. I don't know if as a company, if they do that, because I mean they've got their margins and stuff. And if you look over the years, like Glock has not fluctuated that much as far as like some.
No.
You see some stuff that, we talk about, what it cost 10 years ago or what it cost 15 years ago for basically the same model, right? And how things have went up. I mean, try to get a Ruger Mini 14 nowadays, right? Like it's like, oh my God, like you're freaking crazy.
Try getting an SKS right now for under $1,000, which is insane.
A Glock, as far as like inflationary wise or whatever, is you can get a Gen 5 for what you could get a brand new Gen 3 back in the day, basically.
Yep. No, I get it. Chris, what design's coming first out of the desk drawer when Gaston goes?
I'm gonna probably have to go with what Clover said. I'm gonna have to go PCC.
Yeah, I think it's a PCC. Yeah.
All these PCCs that are already out have been designed around their mags. I'm sure somebody there's looking at them like, we can do this better. We can do that. Yeah. I don't know. But John could be right too about the AR. So,
well, I think where John hit, he said he thought that the 5.56 would come first, and very quickly after that could be the PCC. I think this is being legitimate. We're talking. I think there's a legitimate chance that they release both of them. They just release the AR and the PCC at SHOT Show and say, "Here's our AR lineup. Come get some."
What about a whole new? Because I was thinking along the lines of a retrofitted, whatever redesigned with materials and stuff, basically AR style platform with handgun, pistol caliber. But what if it was more like a micro Roni setup?
A Roni, yeah.
Where they did these uppers, PCC uppers, that you then put the, somehow could legally put the lower frame into, turn it into a rifle. You feel what I'm saying? Because you can go from pistol to rifle. You just can't go from rifle to pistol.
Rifle to pistol. Yeah. So, I think that's interesting. Go ahead. But I think that's an interesting concept.
So what he's talking about, Just Right Carbines did that a few years ago, where there was a Glock lower and it was a PCC upper. If I'm not mistaken, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was somebody attempted it not too long ago.
It's been done. I don't know if it's successfully been done, but you're right. I've seen it. But
so regardless if it's like regardless if it's like a Roni design or not, I think what you will see is the Glock pistol grip included in whatever PCC or AR. The regardless if you
angle?
like it or love it, that grip angle, whether you like it or love it, that is an iconic grip. Regardless of what you think of it, I think that will definitely be included in the design.
So great read. If for those that have not read it, highly recommended.
I was going to say yes. Yeah, I was going to tell you.
Glock, Rise of America's Gun. Please go read it. And it's not just about Glock and the history of Glock, but it gets into a lot of the gun culture of the late 80s, early 90s, and two-way fights and a lot of other stuff. It's a phenomenal read. But anyway, heck, that was where I was going with something, and I missed it. What were we just talking about?
Well, the grip angle and all of that stuff.
The grip angle, yeah.
But before you go on, I want you to go ahead, and once you get fun with this one, I want you to transition directly into another story from the book. Someone asked, or someone made a mention that Glock beat Smith & Wesson to the 40 game. And I know that is one of the greatest coups in firearms history, and they talk about that in the book. So if you can talk about that a little bit also.
The book's phenomenal. So there's going to be, what I'm fixing to say, there's going to be spoiler alerts, but I can guarantee you it's still worth a read.
Sure.
There's so many great stories and stuff in there. Anyway, the grip angle. So Glock spent a lot of time. People complain about the Glock grip angle, right? The research that went into that grip angle was crazy. That was not just.
Well, that was not just the night before. Say, hey, let's just do this. Exactly.
They spent weeks, months, and stuff with research and samples, and with military forces and all kinds of stuff across the globe for that grip angle. So, a lot of people just think that it was just like some one-off little podunk company, and they just threw some type of random angle in there and run with it. It's like no.
Yeah.
So the story you're talking about. So So Glock had already had, basically, they already had a frame and everything capable of handling, the 40 Smith & Wesson. And so what had happened is Smith & Wesson, and there's a bunch of stories about Glock just kicking the dog snot out of Smith & Wesson. So it's again, it's a great read, but this is one of them. So Smith & Wesson is like, 10 millimeter, and we need to get away from FBI and law enforcement that's using 10 millimeter. They need something that's, gimped down, and so girls can handle it and whatever, And Smith & Wesson's like, so basically they're like, oh, what we're going to do is, because Glock had been beating them over the head in the law enforcement game for years.
Yeah.
I mean, just slaughtering them. And they're like, what we're going to do is we're going to come up with a 40 Smith & Wesson. We're going to shorten that 10 millimeter. It's going to be a little less recoil. It's going to help with capacity issues just a little bit, blah, 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 blah. And what we're going to do is we're going to push that to law enforcement as an alternative, right? And try to get their market share back. And so they come out with so they design the 40 Smith & Wesson, and they have a few prototype handguns for it, of course. And they show up at SHOT Show, and they've actually got samples. They put
like a bowl or something of that, didn't they?
Yeah. They've actually got legit samples of the 40 Smith & Wesson ammo there. And so somebody from Glock is walking by, and they're like, this is interesting. So they pick up one of those samples, and they take it back to their booth, and a few phone calls is made, and like 2 days later,
Thursday, yes. That was on a Tuesday, and on Thursday. Yeah.
About 2 days later, the Glock 22 is born, which is the 40 caliber. And all Glock had to do was tweak a little bit of their tooling. And literally, like in less than a week, they were in production for handguns.
Quite literally beat Smith & Wesson to the punch.
Smith & Wesson created their own cartridge trying to beat Glock, and
Glock the first gun.
Built the guns around that cartridge quicker than they could get the guns built.
It's truly one of the greatest coups that's ever happened in firearms history. It is one of the greatest, and it's a true thing that happened. It's just but that's you can make fun of Glock all you want about all this, that, and the other, but that right there shows the proficiency of the Glock style, the Glock engineering, what they do, because it doesn't take much to come up with a new model. It's all there.
Just tweak a few things. The another story from that's funny as all get out. Everybody remembers that Smith and Wesson basically copied Glock, got hammered big time for doing it with the Sigma, right?
Oh, the Sigma,
which later
sure,
became the SDVE and all that.
Yeah.
So, so I'm not going to use the language in the book. So again, go check out the book. But there's a story in there of a guy that was in the boardroom basically at Smith and Wesson. And again, this is in the heyday. Glock is just kicking the dog snot out of Smith and Wesson.
Yeah.
And like the CEO is in there and the CFO and all the engineers, and they're having a major meeting, like heads are fixing to roll if they don't figure something out. And the CEO has a Glock 19. I believe it was a 19. It may have been.
This is the Smith and Wesson CEO.
This is the Smith and Wesson CEO, and he slams it on the table, and he says, "I want somebody to build a fire. I want you guys to build a firearm. We will build a firearm better than this. You've got to build a firearm better than this." And all the engineers look at each other, and they look at him, and they look around the room, and they look at him, and it's all freaking quiet. And he's like, "What? Speak up. Speak your mind." And one engineer stands up, and he looks around at the others, and they kind of nod their head, and he said, "Sir, that can't be done. We can't do that. We can't build a better handgun than this."
Yep.
So he picks it up, and he looks at it, he slams it back on the table again. He says, "Then we copy the MFer."
Yep.
And the Sigma was born, which later
the Sigma, which turned into that, but also SDV, but you also have, I think the next evolution of the Glock thing was the M&P 9 that, when they came out with the M&P 9, that was okay. This is going to be the one we're going to put against the 17 probably, or whatever,
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I haven't talked about, we're talking about the battle between Glock and Smith and Wesson. So I'm not going to spoiler alert the rest of the book for the people that want to go get it and read it. I'm telling you, do it.
This turned into a Glock versus Smith and Wesson instead of a Glock versus CZ, but hey, let's go. It's all good.
The SHOT Show stories, like after parties and stuff, are detailed in that book as well. And oh my God, it's the crazy stuff that went on.
Oh, I can only imagine the early years. Oh my God.
They were courting large.
There might have been some white powder involved at a lot of those parties. You think?
It was. There's some crazy stories in that book of what went on in the late '80s, early '90s at SHOT Show and trying to get the big contracts and stuff. It was insane.
Oh my God. Great. We'll get back to the CZ conversation as well. But there's a great question. It might be a CZ involved in this. Jacob S out there says, here's a question. Before Glocks were on the market, what was the most dominant handgun on the market, do you guys think? I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to give you three choices. I'm going to give you three choices what I think it was. It was either the 75, the 92 from Beretta, or probably even like a Smith & Wesson Model 10 revolver. I don't know, but I would say that those three, if I had to go with one, I might even say the Model 10 might have been the most. When you say handgun, that includes revolver. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Go ahead and jump in.
Well, Ghost, you got to remember the 75 was behind the Iron Curtain and didn't get imported until later.
That's true. That's true too.
The 75 was
worldwide. Worldwide, it was definitely was not. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I would say it was probably the Model 10 or any of the Gen 3.
Oh, the Gen 3 Smiths?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think about the Gen 3 Smiths. That's a possibility.
There were a lot of Trooper model, not Model 10, but the actual Trooper models, and that were out there. I know 357 revolvers, various configurations and stuff. Before Glock, primarily speaking, revolvers were
king. The 1911. Yeah, I didn't even think about the 1911, but as far as the 1911 is probably pretty popular still.
1911 would probably be the one in semi-auto for sure.
Yeah, in semi-auto. Yeah, I totally forgot. I was thinking 92 maybe, but yeah, 1911 for semi was probably the one.
But when you start talking about law enforcement, which you got to realize, that's where Glock cut their teeth and made their fortune really, and got their name solidified. They played that market perfectly. And they were battling revolvers more than anything. That was really their competition, was the revolvers. And the reason that law enforcement was doing revolvers is that was seen as reliable. And there was a lot of hesitation, and they go into this in that book, by the way. But there was a lot of hesitation of moving to semi-auto in the law enforcement world because of that reason. So you did see a lot of 38 special and 357 revolvers in the early to mid 80s.
Yeah.
Heck, this is crazy, but the Texas troopers and Rangers,
yeah.
they used the Winchester lever actions up until like 1986.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was an issued firearm for the Rangers forever. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they went to at 86. They finally went to the Mini 14.
And I'd be willing to bet they probably still have some that, you know, if someone came in and say, "Hey, I want one," they probably still have some. They'd issue some guys just for nostalgic reasons.
I'm sure there's some that carry them, that have them. Yeah. There's no doubt there's some running around with one in their trunk for sure.
Yeah. Chris, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Between the three of you, what do you think which revolver was more carried? The Smith, and nobody's brought up the Colt. So was it Colt or Smith?
I just did with a Colt Trooper.
Oh, my bad, Clover.
Are you talking Model 10, like a specific model?
Was it the Model?
Oh, I think it's the Model 10. I think the Model 10 is one of the most sold revolvers ever.
More Smiths.
Was there more Smiths or more Colts?
Over time, probably Colt. Over time, I'm going to no, it's going to be worldwide
revolvers.
So worldwide, I would think Smith & Wesson. Worldwide. Simply because of the Model 10. The Model 10 has been around since the late 1800s. It's still around today. And so, especially worldwide, I mean, that was used in many, many, many countries. 357 didn't really catch on in a lot of, like, internationally. So, yeah, but 38 Special did, right? And so, yeah, you still see even today, you see a lot of duty revolvers and stuff in 38 Special and their Model 10s. So in that sense, I'd say Smith & Wesson. It's tough to say. That would be a coin flip for me to say between Colt and Smith & Wesson. I would say in the early days, talking about U.S. market, because you've got the police positive, the police official, right? All in Colt. Barney Fife, for example, is, and I know that's TV.
Sure,
but
no.
Yeah, that was a.
Now, are we talking like ever, like of all time, John? The reason why I asked that is the model. Well, I'm just saying, like, how many of the freaking single action armies were sold back in the day? Like, do we know?
Well, how many of the Schofield or the Model 1s from Smith were sold?
Not as many as when you started getting into swing out.
The mass production.
Yeah, not nearly as many. Okay.
Well, the other
I was just throwing it out there, though. You know,
the other one is you also, so Clover brought up the Trooper and the Police Special, Detective Special. The one other company that we forgot to mention was Ruger, because Ruger was coming out with the police.
Ruger sold a bunch of revolvers. You're right. They sure did.
Service 6.
Yeah,
yeah, but they had. I
don't think anything in the Model 10. I think is man.
No, and Ruger never has gotten a foothold on the law enforcement share in this country. They never have got a significant portion. It's always been between Colt and Smith & Wesson. And then the other part of that too is Ruger does nearly nothing internationally. You'll talk to a lot of countries, and Ghost and I have actually had people on and talked to people from other countries that literally have a Ruger 1022. You want to talk about taking your living in the United States for granted. There are people that their dream firearm is a Ruger 1022. Because they can't have it in their country.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts?
Right.
Yep. Chris, bring you in. I don't remember the original question was. Oh, what was probably the most popular handgun before Glock hit the scene?
I got to go revolver. I mean, that's pretty much what all law enforcement was carrying.
It was 100%. That's and that's why I think the Model 10 was, because there was just that was like a lot of people call the Model 10 the original MMP also, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So many people carry that Model 10.
Right back to the thing about Glock, love them or hate them, they change everything.
They changed the game. Yep. No doubt about it. We were talking earlier about the Glock AR. I have been fortunate enough to shoot one in my life, and it's pretty damn awesome. Not gonna lie. The CZ Bren 2 AR. You guys ever had a chance? Those are pretty badass. What do you guys think of those?
Oh yeah,
CZ did a damn good job on that. I ain't gonna lie.
I've never got to shoot one, but it is amazing.
Man.
So we were talking at work today. Somebody brought it up that the Bren 2 is the cheaper version of the Scar, and I couldn't argue with them.
I can see where people are coming from that, right? I don't think that's the case, but I can see why people would say that. That Bren 2 is pretty damn good. It is. I will put it this way. I would be very impressed if the Glock AR would be as good as that Bren 2 right off the bat. I'm just saying. I don't know. Especially with Clover saying with the history of polymer and all of that, does Glock dive deep heavily into the polymer AR game? Which I think he's got a point. I don't know how I feel about that. I do think that's a legitimate thing, though. I think Glock would dive heavily into the polymer shell AR game for sure, and I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't.
I just don't think they dive into like metallic.
I don't either. No, I see what you're saying. I just don't. No, I tend to agree with you on that.
That's
who they are. That's what they are, and it's a lot cheaper to produce.
Yeah, they could retool what they got much cheaper and easier than they could buy all new machinery and train people to use it.
No, I tend to agree with that. I think they do that, and I don't know how I feel about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like it, but if anyone could do it well, if anyone could do an AR in a full polymer shell, they could do it, but I don't know how I feel about it. Abby out there has a great point. Go ahead, Clover. Yeah, you're going to bring it up too.
No, she had one before that, actually.
Oh, well, I'll do this one first. Does the Bren 2 come with a man bun, skinny jeans, in a case of IPAs? Yes, it does. I don't know if it comes with that, but those are prerequisites to be able to purchase one for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead. And then you want the other one right here about the Ruger?
Yeah, she said, didn't the Ruger P series come out before the Glock got popular? Not really. They were both right about the same time. The P85 in 1985, and Glock came around and started filling contracts in about 85. Mm-hmm. So, now my dad, interestingly enough, carried as a duty weapon for quite a number of years a P90, and the P series are tanks. They're great handguns, but they're kind of like a Glock in the sense that they're not sexy. But then they're not Glock as far as they're hammer fired, you know what I mean? And, that sort of thing. So
are we all in agreement, though, that there will eventually be a Glock 1911 or a 2011 or something like that? I mean, there's going to be a hammer fired Glock eventually.
It would have to be a 2011 because it would be polymer framed, I think. But yeah.
Do you think there'll be a Glock shotgun ever?
Doubtful. I mean, maybe some type of a semi-auto version,
kind of like a Mossberg 500, or you have semi-auto.
I was thinking more like some of the stuff, tactical stuff you see coming out of Turkey, maybe.
But I was thinking more of a pump or something. I was thinking maybe because of the military background that Glock is heavily involved in, maybe they'd have like a sawed-off version or like a breaching shotgun of some sort.
I don't think they do, because here's why. I don't think that it's going to be worth their investment, considering first of all, the Italians that dominate that market. We're talking worldwide here, right? Because we're talking Austria, so we're talking worldwide. And then also on the cheap front, the Turks, like they're boxed in. You know what I mean? And so I don't know where they get their market share by doing that.
No, the only stamped at Glock, probably. You know what I'm saying? Like if they purchase one of those Turkish factories or whatever.
Well, once Gaston
but then it wouldn't
gone,
be necessarily a Glock shotgun either at that point. You know?
Once Gaston is gone, does Glock in Georgia start importing Turkish things that are stamped Glock?
I don't know about that. I do believe that the Glock will be a much different looking company once he's gone. But I also tend to believe that there is still going to be the respect and the reverence for Gaston, that they wouldn't just make wholesale changes and take it. I mean, there's a reason why Glock is where they are. Maybe they do. I just don't see how the shareholders and all of that would. Is Glock private?
Well,
they're private, so then it doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe 20 years after he dies, maybe, but I just don't see them like literally changing course just because old man's gone to catch up with the times. I think there's still got to be that respect for what Gaston wanted. I don't know. Am I wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, like what got you there? I don't know. I mean,
at least respect that side,
Newer generations are either quick to forget or never learn in the first place.
I know. And that's what scares me.
About heritage and stuff, right?
No, I get it.
Legacy. Bringing us back around to Glock and CZ for a second.
Yeah, sure.
We've talked about the firearms.
I try to do that with the Brin too, by the way. So I try to bring it back a little bit.
We've talked about firearm versus firearm and that sort of thing, but look at company versus company.
Yeah.
Like Glock has been Glock since day one.
Yeah.
CZ has been one thing, morphed into another, then morphed into something else. Finally, it's like it's been way more fluid. So as far as stability as a company, Glock wins that, I think, pretty much hands down.
You know who I would compare Glock to as far as historic value and historic ideas and maintaining the basic ideas of what the company is founded on. I would say that HK is probably a little more. I'm not saying that Glock and HK are the same, but HK still reveres what they started as and tries to keep that same kind of feeling and respect of the previous generations of HK. And maybe that is an Eastern European thing. I mean, I know Czechoslovakia is kind of Eastern European as well, but they were under a curtain there for a long time, Austria, Germany. I don't know. I think that HK probably to me is more of has the respect of the original idea of the company more than CZ does. So, I'm not saying it's a bad thing for CZ. I'm just saying that's what I think.
So some world history for people that are out there and may not know, and I don't even know for sure, but when the Soviet Union fell, when Czechoslovakia broke up, you got the Czech Republic, you got Slovakia. What else? Was it just those two, or am I missing one somewhere?
No. So you remember Yugoslavia also was in that whole area. And I think Yugoslavia was part of that Slovakia and all of that. I don't remember, but I want to say that whole time with Yugoslavia and the Czech Republic, and then what was the other that Yugoslavia was having?
It was Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia.
Yeah, but there was another one as well, and that whole area split up into so many different things. But I think the Czech Republic and Slovakia are probably the biggest two powers, if you will.
Definitely the firearm side of things. There's a ton of stuff that comes out of Slovakia.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question, and I don't give him very much credit. I'm just joking. Chicago Mike the Shooter actually brings a little bit of interesting question. In the next 20 to 50 years, I'm going to say it doesn't matter, 25 to 50 years, which gun is still going to be popular? So What's this generation's 1911, if you will, that's 100 years old and it's still a relevant design, whether it's a Colt or not, but the design itself. Is there a gun out here that we can sit there and say, yeah, I can see 50, 100 years from now that it's still a relevant design? What do you guys think?
Like a new design?
I'm just saying, like, like the 1911 today is over 100 years old, but that design is still revered, right?
Yeah, and I think that one still will be. That's why I asked.
Well, I do too. But is there a gun that's come out in our kind of generation of guns that will still 100 years from now be revered? It's like, man, that was a great gun back there in the 2000s, you know?
I would say it'd probably have to be the 2011. Then you got to look at like the 320 or any of the modular frame stuff. But you got to look at the average shelf life of a gun right now before the next model comes out is what, 5 to 10 years, maybe? Not even.
I wouldn't say it's that. I think it's probably closer to 3 to 5.
I mean,
yeah.
And this will make you guys all laugh. Is I was bidding on a Taurus View the other day on Gunbroker. Do you guys remember what
the Taurus what?
The View. Taurus View. It is a snub nose 350 or 38 special revolver with a clear polymer side on it, so you can see the internal.
No, absolutely. I'm looking at a picture right now. That's kind of interesting.
And so I remember when that was launched, and I was like, "Oh, that's super cool." And then it disappeared off into the Oasis, and it had it. It's I think. They're not designed like the 2011 because it's based on the 1911. It's going to be the only one of the few, maybe the 320 that'll last, and then the Glocks because there's so many things like the shelf life of this gun is just they don't last that long anymore.
Yeah. There's something to be said, and once again, I mean, I'm not trying to say that Glock is better than CZ. I don't really care. I think they're both great at what they do, but they do different things. But one of the great things that Glock brought to the firearms industry is what we're seeing now is the availability to mass produce guns quickly because of the polymer frame and being able to do all that and not the machine tooling with all the metals and all of that. I think what you've seen where the idea of the mass production gun, as much as the design of the polymer frame gun, just the idea of being able to produce these polymer frame guns much quicker and make them relative. Well, we all know that you can take 10 Glock 17s, take them all apart, mix up the parts, put them back together, and they run. I think that's something we haven't touched on, but that side of Glock has also kind of been revolutionary, is that cookie cutter mentality, mass production gun that still is a phenomenal gun. They still do it better than almost everybody out there that's trying to do that, including the 320, if you will. I still think they do it better. I'm not saying the 320 is not a better gun than some of the Glocks, but the system, no one does it better than Glock. And I think that's one of the things that Glock has brought to the table was the Henry Ford master, production, if you will. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to address Rich White and what he's bringing up out there.
Oh, what's he saying? I didn't see it.
Which has to do with Glock's market share and that basically got Glock's being beat. Yeah, I mean, to an extent, but you have to keep things in perspective. Over the last probably decade or so, and it's been fairly recent, honestly. There hasn't been strides in damage done to their market share for very long now. I would say about 10 years or so, maybe 15. But Glock's only lost about 20% market share at this point. But here's the issue with Glock that they see the loss of market share and, Glock's done, they're dead, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, sure.
What you don't realize is compared to the other companies that kind of sucked away that 20%. First of all, there's multiple companies sucking away that 20%. It's not the Glock versus Smith & Wesson battle of old where it was just one company, right? So
a lot of those are the Gen 3 clones also.
Right, exactly. So you don't have one company that's beating Glock down, right? Glock is losing market share because of they're
losing to their own design,
A lot of times, yeah. But here's the thing. Here's the big thing that if you think Glock is going anywhere because of that, operating cost and manufacturing cost and all of that stuff for Glock is insanely cheap. I would be surprised if it cost Glock $25 to make a handgun. Their margins are
today absolutely
extreme.
Absolutely.
Their margins are. No other company has those margins, and so they can sustain. They could sustain probably a 50% market share loss, and still be around and still do things. I think easily.
Yep. I don't remember who was talking about. I didn't go up. I couldn't go up far enough. Chris, you realize that this is a discussion that you can be involved in too. I know. I always had to tell Chris, man, it's okay to talk. It's okay to talk.
No, I mean, when I was thinking about this, because when you brought up like what is the next 1911, because that's basically what we're talking about.
If there is one, we don't know if there will be another one like that.
And we talk about all these. We've talked about all these striker fire guns tonight, which is all it all goes back to Glock.
Yeah.
But like early in the conversation, we had somebody brought up Canic out there in the side chat, which Canic's a great gun. Everyone they put out.
It's a Walther clone, but it's a great gun. I love a Canic, but it's a Walther clone.
But it's a Walther clone. and it's all you're doing is making a trigger wise, they do like the Rival S has got just a little bit better trigger in it than the PPQ. But you can take that PPQ slide and put it right on that Rival frame and run it. It's going to run, and I've done it 100 times. Then we talk about 2011s. Yes, the popularity. They're getting huge, but we can go all the way back to Para. Para kind of was the first company to do a double stack. So all we're doing is making a better Para.
Yep.
So I guess.
And what was the Para? And what's the Para based off?
Well,
and what was the Para? It was as double stack. What? Oh, 1911.
It's a tale as old at times, just like the Smith and Wesson story with Glock of, oh, you can't beat it? Well, then copy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's become a norm.
There's a reason why everyone and their sister has a Gen 3 clone right now. Why? Everyone has one. You wouldn't see 27 different companies coming out with their Gen 3 clones anymore if it wasn't like a legit design, legit game-changing design.
Even when we talk about the modular stuff, I mean, SIG, we got to give it to them. They come out this modular.
Absolutely.
But in all honesty, really, how hard is it to pull the trigger group out of a Glock and drop it into
pretty
another?
modular. Glock's pretty
exactly.
modular.
It's not marketed. It's not marketed. It's not marketed as a modular gun. But there's only 36 parts or whatever the hell it is,
And like you said, you take 10 of them or 20 of them, you disassemble them, you put them all in a box, you shake it up, you put 10 or 20 back together, and they all run. That's modularity.
That's modularity.
I'm going to argue on that one because I don't think a Glock's modular because I can't take a 17 internals and put it in a 19 and it work. Where a SIG, I can take that FPC and I can put it into a compact frame in a subcompact frame, it'll still work. That's my argument against that. That's my only argument against that.
I'm not. I don't think anyone's saying that it's more modular than a SIG, but I would sit there and say that the Glock is more modular than people even think about.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
it's never been thought of. It's never been thought of as a modular gun. But if you think about it, it is.
Yeah, whether it's more modular is not the question. Is it modular? And the basic answer to that is yes.
So I want to take this real quick. Hold on to your thought real quick, John. Okay. SIG's brought up, and everyone knows I'm not a big SIG fan. The 320, for a lot of different reasons, was a game changer. Let's be honest. The 365 game changer. If I had to pick a SIG that could be revered 100 years from now, it's still a 226. I think the 226 is much more relevant historically than the 320 or the 365 will ever be. But everyone kind of forgets now about the 226 because of the rise of the 320 and the 365. The 226, what a fabulous handgun that is.
Yeah.
All right, what were you going to say, John? Go ahead.
Well, and Somebody brought up, I think it was Mike, said Canic PCC, and we went off. I just want to address Mike real quick. Canic will probably not come out with a PCC because in Turkey the things are very strict, and Canic is owned by the Turkish government, and the government has to request that. So I doubt we'll see a PCC from Canic anytime.
We see PCCs coming out of there though.
True, but I don't think it'll be any time.
But I don't think that all of those companies are owned by the government either.
Yeah. Yeah, Canic is owned by the Turkish government, so they'd have to put a request in for that specifically. Unfortunately, I'd love to see a Canic PCC.
I would too. I would too.
Don't get me wrong.
There's also a comment about the Gerson regard and the Beretta 92
I see
parts
that.
working together. The barrel and the locking block, no. The slide, depending on the 92, no, because the barrel and the locking block is different.
What about grips?
Internals, grips, no. And with so like magazines, yes. The internals with some fitting, yes. As far as what we're talking about with a Glock, like literally taking the trigger out of 117 and putting it in the other, or the striker or whatever, like no. Like it's you may get lucky, but there may be a little bit of fitting and filing and stuff like that has to occur. So it's just a question of degree, right? Like, will it work? Yeah, there are some parts that'll work. It's just a question of degree of what you got to do to make some of them work.
Mm-hmm.
And the grips can be tweaked as well, by the way. You can.
Yeah. I mean, and we're talking maybe like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch.
Oh, we're talking about hundredths of an inch. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Now G23 out there wasn't the PX4 Storm before the Yes. So the Beretta PX4 Storm was out before the 320. I think he's making a joke saying it would be a copy. I've got the PX4 Storm, and I think it's a really cool handgun.
Yeah, I've always liked the PX4s.
The only gun that I could sit there from the Beretta standpoint for me that I think is iconic for handguns is a 92. They have come out with some great handguns. The APX that I got is one of my favorite guns. Phenomenal handgun. But the 92 is for me amongst the top list of my of what I think is best handguns ever made. But worldwide and historically, it is not considered an all-time great handgun.
And I think when you especially if it's new people that are not as familiar with lineage and stuff with Beretta and whatever, they may not even wear such things as gifts, but exist. But for old, I'll call myself that, for old folks, we'll go with that. You think 92, and then I think the Cheetahs, the Bobcats, the Tomcats, that type of stuff, right? When I think Beretta, which is scaled down 92s, basically. I mean,
sure, yeah.
At the end of the day, it's sort of what they are.
Well,
I think about that. I don't think poly. When somebody says Beretta handgun, I don't think poly at all.
Oh, I don't think poly at all. No.
And I know they've got the PX4s, they've got the APX. I know they've got that stuff, but my mind doesn't go there.
My mind goes when I hear Beretta handguns, it automatically goes to 92. Now the 92 will always go down as the most historic and probably revered handgun Beretta's ever put out. I just don't think how many people will put the 92 in, let's say a top 10, modern handgun top 10 list. I don't think it makes that list. I don't think, and this is going kind of bringing it back to the CZ Glock game. If someone were to say of the last 50 years, the modern handgun, if you will, what are the top 10 best handguns, revolvers or semis? I think the CZ75 and the Glock 17/19 both make that list. And honestly, I think they're both probably top 5. Maybe not top 5, but I think they're definitely on that list. I don't think that, as much as I love the 92, I don't think the 92 makes that top 10 list. I really don't.
I would agree.
As much as I hate to say that, I don't think it does. Here's a question.
Look at the, and don't get me wrong. I mean, especially with Gerson, there's some really great Beretta clones out there.
Sure.
But look at the popularity of the 1911 clones in comparison, right? Or even the 2011 stuff.
Yep.
Sort of
Sure.
in comparison, that 1911 design, right?
It's still based on the 1911, sure.
The John Mosen Browning design is still crushing. It's crushing.
And you brought up earlier, I think 50 to 100 years from now, it still may not be crushing, but it's still relevant. I guarantee it's still relevant. Yeah. Here's another one. And someone brought up the company. Chris brought it up not too long ago. There's a gun that we tend to forget as far as popularity, reverence in the community. Let's bring Walther up as the PPK. The PPK is just maybe not as important as 1911, but that PPK is incredibly important to the history of firearms.
Yeah, for a little semi-auto. Yeah,
for a little bitty pocket 380 or 32, different. But that little pocket, was it the first pocket carry semi? May not be the first one, but I bet you it was probably the first really popular one that people actually wanted to run and get, regardless if it was for the movies or not. But that PPK is a really important handgun in the history of firearms.
Just saying. Agree. It took the Colt pocket pistols, right? The Browning pocket stuff, even the Savage, to an extent.
I would say it took all the way to maybe even to the Ruger LCP to really kind of dethrone the PPK.
Well, no, what I'm saying is it all started with like the Browning pocket, the Colt pocket, that style stuff, right? Like I said, Savage even had one in there.
But the PPK took it.
Yeah, and then it kind of morphed into the PPK, and here is how you know a design, a style has really hit it as far as popularity. Then what started coming out? All of the Eastern European Makarovs that are basically a PPK,
which they are, but the Makarovs are great. But it's like you said, it's a PPK,
And then the PPK still had popularity forever. And then who comes along and for the longest time crushed it in the concealed carry market with an affordable version of the PPK, basically that style, that design, Bursa, right?
The Thunder,
with the Thunder 380. So absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you as far as an iconic design.
If you can't look at that Thunder and say that's not how do I put this?
It's PPK inspired.
Inspired by the PPK, and then the LCP comes in and brings a very affordable, and all that. But I mean, all of these guns that we're talking about probably don't happen without that huge influx for whatever reason of the PPK,
Kel-Tec came in with, when we're talking about pocket poly, the really tiny micro, I guess, what you would call them, right? The modern stuff. The thing is, like Ruger, the reason the LCP is, I think, was the advertising dollars and stuff and the name behind Ruger.
Yep.
But actually, Kel-Tec beat them to that.
Well, you know how I feel about Kel-Tec and all that. I believe that I've said this live and I'll continue this. Kel-Tec is a crucial company in our industry. They are one of the few companies that are willing to take whatever risk to push innovation. Exactly. I mean, a lot of their designs 20 years later are, oh man, that was a Kel-Tec 20 years ago. It failed miserably 20 years ago, but that was the design. So Kel-Tec is incredibly important. Whether people want to shit them on or not, that's fine. You can shit them on you want, but you gotta respect what Kel-Tec does. And if nothing else, it pushes that needle. It forces companies to push that needle a little bit.
Well, Ghost, you brought up a good point with the Makarov.
That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I know. Well, you said something earlier in the show with the influence, we'll call it influence or copying, whatever the influence of the high power in this with the CZ-75. You got to remember, after World War II, the Russians had everything at their disposal, and they didn't want to copy German weapons because they were garbage and they didn't like them. Well, garbage in their eyes. So you look at the Makarov, which is a copy of the PPK. You look at the stuff coming out of Hungary, which was copied. There's models, but Hungary copied the PPK. Then you got, the CZ75, they're pulling all these influence, I guess you would say, is influence and inspiration. And we'll tie it back to the Sigma conversation. Why reinvent the wheel when I can take this part and that part and make the gun that I want that's the best of everything? And that's kind of where we see some of these new models, because everyone's taking these little bits of inspiration from everything.
Yep. RTT out there for popularity today, and I'm talking total sales. Taurus has been doing extremely well, even occasionally beating out Glock and Sig for the first time concealed carry buyers. I think that's in the last few years. You're correct. I don't know about the sale numbers. I don't know. I don't keep up with that. I'm sure we can find them on NSSF if we wanted to look. But I'll say this, that we talk about this in the Ghost and Clover podcast about Taurus, and as far as the semi-automatic pistol game, the G2 came out, raised some eyebrows. Not the same old Taurus semi. G3 came out. G3, I've got a G3. G3 is a very good handgun, especially for the price point. Okay. Is it as good as an HK or Glock or Sig or Walther that are mechanics that are higher for that price point? Really good. G4 has come out. Really, really good. So I'm hoping what they've done and what they will continue to do at Taurus is take kind of the Glock mentality. We found something that has fit a niche. It has resonated with our customer base. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's tweak and upgrade and update, but keep that same design. If they do that, Taurus could be a player in the concealed carry market, because they're going to be able to beat a lot of the big boy prices and still put out a relatively good gun. For that $250 price point, there are guns that I think that are better than like a G3, but there's not many. There's really not. There's not many that can beat that Taurus G3 or G4 at a $250 price point. So I hope Taurus takes the Glock's mentality of the world as, let's not go and try to reinvent the wheel. Let's try to master what we do well, and what we've done well is produce a pretty decent semi-auto handgun. Go ahead, John.
Well, and for those of you, I'm going to give a little peek behind the curtain for those out there. What Taurus has done is they have taken probably 75% of the staff from Walther. You at Walther,
they have
USA.
done that. And our good friend Cody, when we heard that he was leaving to go to Taurus, a little surprised. And then you start hearing things, and I love Walther.
Not after Brett jumped anyway.
Right. But we start hearing some of the internal things happening at Walther. And you know what? Walther's a small company, but there are some very good people, very intelligent, very good people at Walther. And you're right, John. Taurus did, and they took the right ones that they could get. And I think you're right. I think that is a reason why they did. But yeah, they did do a good job, because Walther kind of screwed themselves on a lot of that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But Taurus also brings people in and listens to. They bring them in to listen to them, right?
They don't companies that conform to them. They conform to what their new guy comes in with.
We talk about this all the time with EAA, and now EAA is different as an importer, because they go and visit with a manufacturer, and they say, no, you're going to do it
monthly
this way.
Almost.
This is the tooling you're going to use. This is the tolerances we want. This is blah, blah, blah. They're not just bringing the crap in as whatever the Turks want to push. Right. And it's the same way when you talk about, companies, these other companies, that they can bring in the best person in the world, but they're not willing to listen to and do what that person is telling them, then it's not going to make a world of difference. And to Taurus's credit, yes, with Brett and Cody, and a couple of others, brought in the right people and then actually listened.
They've let them guide them down a different and what's turned out to be the correct road. Yeah,
and quite
absolutely.
honestly, Bursa is going down that road now.
Absolutely. You're going to see a renaissance in Bursa in the next. You guys just be ready. Be ready. Bursa's getting ready to explode. Yep. Real quick, talking Taurus, and I love where this conversation is going. It's gone all over places. Abby up there says, I think it was Abby. Oh, it was Gary. The problem with Taurus is not as many holster or gear options out there as other manufacturers, and that is true. Simply, in my opinion, this is truly my opinion. I'll let you guys weigh in on this as well. My opinion is there hasn't been as many holster options because there was really never a Taurus gun that people got excited about. There wasn't the demand. I think with the G2, the G3, and the G4, they're starting to create that excitement about Taurus, and the holster companies aren't going to waste their money on guns that aren't going to sell. I think with Taurus starting to sell a lot more guns, you'll start seeing the holster companies getting on board. And another reason why also is before maybe 5-6 years ago, there was 5 or 6 holster companies that made everything. Now everyone and their mother can make a Kydex holster, and there's thousands of holster companies now that if you're willing to search the internet, you're going to find a company that does a lot of Taurus, where that wasn't maybe the case with Safari Lands and all of that before. Go ahead, whoever that was.
Or here's a novel idea. You can attend the largest gun show in the world, the Wanamaker Tulsa Arms Show in Tulsa,
and
Oklahoma.
Get one made.
Any April or any November, bring your firearm, hand it to them, and have one made right there while you watch.
Or you can get a leather holster made right there if you'd like.
This is true. While you watch, to your
while you watch it,
liking. They'll 100%. Ask you everything from the design to the clips to the you name it.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'll. Chris, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to throw one thing out there about Taurus. So I bought the G3 Tactical. Last year at the end of the year, and I love that gun. I love taking it out to the range, shooting.
Sure,
it's a great gun. But quality control is a little off with them, and that gun will. We're still talking a $250 gun. You know what I'm saying? So that gun, my gun, will not run any polymer coated or high tech coated bullets. They will not feed. They won't chamber correctly. And I can take that same bullet, run it through a Glock, run it through a Walther, run it through a SIG. They'll all run just fine. So I love the gun, but I have to tailor reloads to run with that gun.
Yeah,
I can't just use.
There's a reason.
I've run a lot of handguns over the last 5-6 years with the YouTube thing, and I always put new 9mm. I have a shit ton of polymer projectile ammo that a friend of mine sent me years ago to try out. He sent me thousands of rounds, like multiple thousands of rounds. So I always try to put a box through to see if that's kind of a test for me. Will it cycle this polymer ammo? And you're right. A lot of the, I'm not going to say cheap guns, I'm going to say the lesser expensive guns have an issue with that lightweight projectile the polymer brings in, and it is that's the reality of it.
So
go ahead, guys.
To defend Taurus for a second on the quality control, right?
Yeah. So,
and if you're personally affected, I get it. Like percentages don't matter to you because you're 100% affected. So I mean, I totally understand that. I get that
absolutely.
Point.
Yeah.
But as a percentage, you got to realize we're in the United States and we're thinking Taurus. We're thinking the United States.
Yeah,
Taurus one of, if not the biggest global distributor of firearms in the world on the 100%. Planet. Yep. So on a scale with the amount of stuff that they get that goes out, their quality control problems are actually fairly low. The problem is
in the grand scale outside the US.
As a percentage, it's low. But unfortunately, they push so much stuff out that the raw numbers are higher, so you're more likely to have an issue. Yeah,
that's a very fair point. Go ahead, John.
So, two things. First off, I'm going to touch on your guys' polymer bullet. We ran into this at Faxon with a couple barrels we made. We made the chambers to SAMI spec, and polymer bullets are not SAMI
They're
spec.
not. That's
So
a fair point. That's a very fair point.
That they have issues, because I'm pretty sure Taurus makes all their chambering to SAMI spec because they ship internationally.
Well, for reasons they almost have to, right? So no, and that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
So there's that. The other thing is like the amount of gear and stuff. And somebody brought this up. Think about it this way: if I am a holster maker or something like that, I know that there's a lot of these selling, but my holster is $70 and somebody just bought a $200 gun. They don't have the money for my $70 holster. They
have the money, but they're probably not going to spend $70 for a $200 gun.
Or most of the time, and this comes from working retail, is the guys that would buy the Taurus handguns, and I not to talk down about them. The guys who would buy Taurus handguns are the same guys who would buy the $8 Uncle Mike holsters.
Well, and let's be fair. Let's be fair. No, that is a very. And I was getting ready to say that kind of similar thing is the guy that's going to buy a Taurus is going to complain that there's not enough holsters would be the same guy that if he could find a universal like nylon holster, it's a universal holster where maybe the muzzle sticks out of the bottom of the holster so it fits all of it. That's probably what they would buy. That's a fair assessment,
So
go ahead.
What is that? The armsman out there says it's not just value firearms. There are many 1911s that won't handle all types of ammo.
That's very true.
Yes, ammo issues in a firearm, and this aggravates me to no extent. I get this in videos, like whatever. We all deal with it in the firearm industry. Those that have our community, those that have been around for a while, that people complain, it won't feed this or it won't do that. It's garbage because it won't do this, and it's like you have no concept, as John pointed out, of chamberings. I've told the story, like when I built my 6.8 SPC, any 6.8 SPC you see nowadays on the shelf is actually 6.8 SPC 2.
It's not the same as when you built.
It's not the same as when I built my 6.8 SPC.
That's right.
And when they respec to 6.8 SPC 2 to be able to shoot a larger projectile or anything, I had to literally rent a chamber reamer, right, and ream my chamber so that I could shoot the newer, more modern ammo. And so that's what I was fixing to say about the Taurus thing. And then the armsman jumps in with the 1911. Like, I get it. If you buy a $250 handgun, you probably don't have the knowledge, right, to do that type of gun, because that's legit gunsmithing work, to do that yourself. And you can rent the tooling to ream barrels. You can rent that stuff, and you put a credit card on file, and
would it be easier just to have someone else do it though?
Or you could take it to a competent gunsmith that may already have the reamers, right, and be able to do it. And it's not terribly expensive. Like if you know what you're doing and you have the right stuff, it's not terribly expensive to do. People that have worked in machine shops or even woodworking or stuff like that, if you ever reamed anything out, that's exactly what it is. It's what you're doing to the chamber. It's that simple.
Yeah, and for me, it's not a big deal. I mean, especially from a reloader standpoint, we tailor rounds for every gun that we have.
Absolutely.
It's just like my bulk 9mm that I make for all my pistols will not work with that Taurus. So I just have to tailor around for it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
The same can be said, though. We're talking about reliability. The same can be said for, there's ammo that I get in because I get a different variety, like all of y'all do. When you're testing and whatever from one week to the next, it may not even be the same ammo. And you have something, and I mean, it's punching the same hole over and over. And I get this other ammo, and it's like, it's all over the paper. Like, it's not horrible, but, it's a 2-inch group instead of punching the same hole. You know what I mean? And in comparison, it looks horrible. You're like, oh my God, that ammo's crap. And like, but is there a big difference between the same hole and the 2-inch group at 25 yards? Like, realistically, is that a problem? Because it's really not.
Yeah. Let's also talk about. Oh, sorry, John. Go ahead.
Well, Clover brought up a good point. I had to deal with this on a daily basis at Faxon. It was my barrel doesn't shoot straight, and what people don't understand is. I tell them, go try out this. What ammo are you using? Go out, try out this ammo. Oh, shoot better with this ammo. Well, you got to understand your barrel, there's harmonics and stuff in play, and a lot of people don't understand that. And you have to it's not always the gun. You'd have to kind of, like Chris said, you tailoring that ammo to your gun, and sometimes the gun doesn't like the ammo. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is.
And if you don't, if you have never experienced this, go buy a 22 long rifle.
Yeah,
just saying,
exactly.
just saying.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, let's just take this a step further. Is you could buy Winchester white box 9mm, and 2 boxes aren't going to be the same. Sometimes the the casing's a little bit different. The powders, we don't know if it's a different lot number. The only way that you pretty much, as far as manufactured ammo, that it's going to be probably the same is if they're literally the same lot number. If they came, that's it. I mean, people don't realize that. Well, this Winchester white box and my Winchester white box may not, act the same way.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And people don't pay attention to that. They don't think about all that. And that if you talk to anybody that's competition, well, first of all, like Chris mentioned earlier, and like you're doing with the 6.5 Creed and stuff, they reload. That way they can have that consistency. But anybody that shoots competition, if they don't reload, they buy their ammo in bulk, the same lot. Like,
absolutely. I've got
an Ely black box match in there from, 20 years ago. I bought so much of it, right? Because when I bought it, I'm like, okay, I don't want to have to go back and recite or do this or do that. And so I bought a ton of it in all the same lot. And that stuff, I'm going to tell you, being all the same lot, and of course it's match ammo too, which makes a difference. But the deviation, is like 1,000. There's like 1,000th deviation across. I checked like 500 rounds, and there was 1,000th of an thousandth.
1/1000th.
Of an inch deviation across 500 rounds of that stuff. It's amazing when you buy just by the lot.
Yep, that is one of those things. When I started getting into the competition game with IDPA, and I'm not going to tell you what thing it was, but it was an online ammo company that has been sold recently or in the last couple of years. Anyways, they were big online ammo, and I called them and I said, "Look, you've got a deal on XYZ ammo, and this is what I want to shoot for competition. I want to get like 3,000-4,000 rounds, right?" And he's like, "Not a problem." And I was like, "But once again, I'm going to use this for competition, and I want this ammo to last, a few matches, let's say 10 matches or whatever. Are they from the same lot?" And the guy started laughing at me. It's a thing. And John, you could probably speak to this a little bit with your experience. Even the big ammo online supplier, they're not able to necessarily get everything from the same lot, so that's a thing.
No, you can't always get the same lots. Like when a shipment comes in, we may have 2 lots or 3 lots of the same thing. And that came up like, at one point, there was a specific brand of ammo and a specific lot number that was just bad. And we had to go through and call everybody because we didn't know who had the lot and who did it. Because there's that 10, you guys got to understand, when ammo online ammo retailers or any retailer order ammo, it is a container, not a pallet.
It's not a wrapped pallet. Exactly.
It's a truckload of ammo.
That's right.
That's coming, and there may be 5 or 6 lots in that one truckload, and I can't guarantee.
If someone's trying to buy 15,000 rounds, they're probably not sitting 15,000 rounds of the same lot in that load.
Yeah,
maybe they are. I don't know. I mean, it depends on. If you're ordering 1 million rounds, there's a good chance that you're going to have 25, 30,000 rounds in the same lot. But some of these smaller ones, they're not going to be able to do that. Just say, "Hey, send me these rounds." They're going to say, "Hey, here's what you got."
I'll throw another monkey wrench into this because
Sure.
we're talking lot numbers, and for some people, their eyes are glazing over. So I'll throw
This
this
is true.
out
What
to the
the hell are they
people to
talking
keep it a
about?
little
Yeah.
more real, because this is a little more. This is more an issue that the common everyday person is going to run into and may not realize it. The larger the packaging you buy of ammo,
Yeah.
the worse the deviation is going to be
Yep.
in that packaging. If you buy 20 rounds, 50 rounds, 100 rounds, 200 rounds,
500 rounds. Yep.
in a box, the
Yep.
deviation gets worse as you get up in bulk.
Yep.
And I've seen that across, I have verified that, and I've seen that across multiple manufacturers, multiple types of ammo. I've seen that. I've documented it.
Yep. No, I
Now, is it enough, again, that at 25 yards is the difference between the same hole and a 2-inch group? Does that matter to most people? No.
probably not. Now, I'll also say this: if you're talking range ammo versus competition ammo, very different as well. You know, if it's just bulk ammo that you're going to go and have fun shooting, pulling triggers on the range, it's not. You're not looking for the same thing as you are if you're trying to get. Hey, I went through 30,000 rounds this year in competition. You're not looking for the same ammo as if you want to go and shoot a couple thousand rounds a year on the range, just having fun. So yeah, keep all of this in mind as well, that we're talking specific things with ammo, but once people start understanding that there is difference, even within the same brand and with the same type of ammo, there is difference in that ammo. And it's what it is.
Shout out to Ron, the bullet guy out there, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to Burn the Bullet guy.
Well, you guys
he says as a bullet manufacturer, I've seen and heard complaints from everything you guys have talked about. Yeah. I'll go ahead, John. Sorry.
Well, I'm sorry. What you got to understand is most of these things are done by weight. So if your projectile is 116 grain instead of 115 and the case is this much more, it's all done by weight. So if it weighs the same as the next one and the next one, that's where some of your deviations come from too.
So here's the interesting thing. Oh, go ahead.
You've also got with rimfire, and with really anything rimmed, it headspace is on the rim, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anything rimmed, the rim thickness can have deviation, and
there you go.
If your rim thickness is off, then it is not. What am I thinking about? It is not your somebody help me out. The no-go gauges and the
too.
I'm
sorry.
I've gotten way too.
I don't know, dude. I'm too dumb to do.
Like
Chris might know what you're talking about. He reloads, so he might have an idea of
headspace. The difference in rim thickness changes the headspace.
Oh, headspace. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. I'll say an interesting thing, and Chris, you'll probably get a kick out of this when you reload for competition. When I was using custom ammo and reloaded ammo for competition, for me, now in competition, at least in some of the organizations, the power factor is a big thing. It is a thing that you have to be conscious of when you're doing this. For me, actually, for the Glock 19 that I use in competition, the way it was set up and all of that, we did a bunch of testing. Me and the guy that I worked with ammo company back then, he's not around anymore, unfortunately. But for me, the power factor, accuracy, everything involved, it actually turned out to be 123 grain instead of 124. But where people don't understand it, 123 versus 124, or like Clover said, 116 grain versus 115 grain, like all of that stuff makes a difference. And if you're going to reload and you're doing something specifically for competition, it's crazy. But that little bitty difference in all of these different powders and all that, every little bitty thing changes performance through said firearm. It's going to change between if I go shoot a Tika through 6.5 or the Bergara 6.5 or a Savage 6.5, those reloaded rounds are going to perform much differently in all three of them, even though the exact same rounds. The little bitty things, and when you talk about ammo, this is where ammo gets into some crazy stuff. Ammo, any little bitty slight bitty difference changes everything. So you have to find I think that's what Clover was saying and Chris was saying is you're reloading or you're creating that bullet and that round for a specific gun for a specific purpose almost. And that's much different than bulk ammo that we're getting to go just pull triggers at the range and have fun with.
Yeah, I want to real quick, if you don't mind, I just want to thank Ron, the bullet guy out there. He's one of my newest sponsors for my channel. And
fantastic.
He is helping me out tremendously, and I really appreciate him coming over here, hanging out with us tonight.
So I'm going to go ahead and let him and Clover ding, ding, ding round one. Not just joking, but he says it's not the profile. It's the amount bearing surface on the bullet. What hits the rifling is what counts. So I think what he's maybe discussing is what you were talking about with the thickness of that. I'm assuming that's what he's saying. I don't know. When you guys start talking this kind of shit, I'm out. I don't understand a lot of this stuff. I'm not smart enough to understand that stuff. But really awesome conversation. 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I just looked up and saw that. What a fantastic conversation tonight. The chat outside was booming. We still got a bunch of people out there talking. We're not going to go away right yet, but before everyone starts to leave, I do want to give everyone a quick chance. I'm going to start with Chris and tell people you brought it up that Ron the Bullet Guy is one of your new channel sponsors and all that. Fantastic. Tell people where they can find you, what projects you have going on and all of that.
Tomorrow night, we got the Wednesday night live chat. I'm excited to do that show at 9 Eastern. I took last week off, just wanted a little break from it. And
you got to do it, my man. You got to do it every now and then.
Glad to get back at that. And I just bought the new Smith & Wesson M&P 22 Magnum pistol. And
did you?
Yeah, I'm having a great time with that. And
well, I won't ask you how you like it. I'll wait for the damn video.
I got a few out already, so it's a cool gun. I'm having a really fun time with it. So got a few videos out on it already, and we're gonna start doing some ammo tests with it and stuff like that. But really appreciate you having me on tonight. This was fun chat.
Yeah, it's fun chat for sure. TC versus round nose for pistol bullets. Argument for everything. Chris, the overall length of the bullets jump are hitting the lands differently when you get different results. Man, when you start talking ammo, it could go down 27,000 different rabbit holes. Absolutely.
A lot of different things, and it depends on the cartridge and stuff.
And
depends on
absolutely.
Style, depends on the specific cartridge. There's so many things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's why it's crazy that people get so hung up on it, quite honestly.
Well, and it's just like any other conversation, whether it's the CZ Glock or SIG or HK, whatever, people are passionate about what they do. And when they find, let's just talk reloading, when they find a recipe and components that work for them and they become passionate about those components and that recipe, sure. They're going to say, well, I'll put this up against anything. Well, for your specific rifle or handgun, for your specific need, for your specific task that you're trying to create for that gun, I can see that that's a perfect thing for you. That doesn't mean that it's a perfect thing for everyone. There is no such, by the way, folks, here's a little secret to the pulling the curtain back here, seeing the wizard. There is no such thing as the perfect round. Does it exist? It doesn't exist. There's no way it doesn't exist.
Not if you put a period at the end of that sentence, but if you put there is a perfect round, comma, for your particular firearm.
You, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
But if you put a period, it don't work. There is a perfect round.
But yeah, for you, yes, but there is nothing that you're going to be able to go to any retailer.
Yeah.
And it's going to be perfect for whatever you want to run it through. There's no such thing. Yeah. So don't let me or Clover or Chris or Ginger or any other talking head on YouTube or anywhere in the forums or anyone your local gun shop or anywhere tell you that this is what you need. No one knows what you need. Go out and buy 4 or 5 different brands, a box of 4 or 5 different things until you find ones you like, and then go buy 4 or 5 more and see if you still like that original one. Keep going until you find something for that gun that you like. Go ahead.
So the video I dropped earlier, right? And I'm not going to spoil it too bad because hopefully when people get off here, they go over there and check it out. But it's right up the alley of what we're talking about here. So
it is. Yep.
I'm like, hey, this is my EDC. And I run some ammo through it. John knows what ammo I'm talking about. And people, when they see that and they hear me say that's my primary EDC, even though I think it's plenty a decent enough group, even with that for self-defense, right? Like, I'm going to get
you'll get hate
comments eventually that go, I can't believe it's you, EDC. That's a piece of junk, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I've had this firearm for years. With the right ammo, it punches the same hole.
It's a self-defense EDC gun. All I needed to do is be able to hit a silhouette at no more than 25 yards in that threat. If it can do it, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if it goes through the same hole.
Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't look good. I get it. I get the optics of it, but you got to realize.
Yeah, no, I get it. Absolutely.
Like you talk about, it's kind of behind the curtains, behind the scenes. There's a lot more going on than just that 1 5-minute, 3-minute portion of the video.
Yep. Jacob asked, did we ever finish the polls? I think we did.
Yeah, we did.
Pretty sure we did.
We had the Bert
Go check out Anderson Manufacturing for the pony polls. How about that? That'll finish.
We had Bert and Ernie. We had the
steak and cheeseburger. And then the whole poll with the Glock CZ transitioned us into this whole conversation.
Yeah, so we covered them. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You paid the bills. It's all good.
Okay, I paid the bills. We're good then. All right. Ginger. Well, yeah. So far,
internet. You only glitched once on the internet, so we're good.
Well, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Up once tonight that I noticed.
Okay. Well, I didn't know I did that. So, I'm hoping that maybe if I do this right, then I'll only like glitch while someone else is talking, so it doesn't make me sound weird. You know? I don't know.
Right.
Who knows? Ginger. Who you plugging tonight, big boy?
Well, as always, I'm plugging Southeastern Guide Dog, which is a nonprofit organization centered around giving guide dogs to veterans. They supply the food, the health care, and everything for the life of the dog for the vet until that dog retires, and then get them a new dog. Our last event that we did in July, we were able to sponsor another dog. That's 2 dogs this year. So we raised $25,000, guys. So that sponsored $25,000 sponsors 1 dog. So it is expensive. So if you'd like to go check them out, go to guidedogs.org to go check them out and get them all set in. Other than that, I've got 2 new guns in for review, plus a 3rd maybe on the way here soon. So as soon as I start getting more time to film. And then I will not be on the show next Tuesday. I'm flying out to DC. So big news to come from that the following week.
Yes, there is.
Quitter. He's a quitter.
Nobody likes a quitter, Ginger. You know that gingers don't last very long in DC, right? I'm just saying.
I mean, I know. I went there about a few weeks ago, and I told my wife I'm never complaining about the heat in Arizona ever again because the humidity was just awful.
Son, I invite you to introduce you to a town called Shreveport, Louisiana.
It's supposed to be. I was watching some weather the other day. It was supposed to be unseasonably or whatever, or records or whatever as far as heat and humidity across like the Midwest and all of that this week. So for those that living in those areas that are not used
welcome
to
our Texas, world,
like Texas, Texas heat and humidity, I'm just saying it is a thing. Be very, very careful, and especially with humidity, lots of water if you're outside.
Before I get to Clover, a couple questions. Rich White says, well, there's supposed to be a giveaway tonight. Yes, there was, and that's going to be next week. We'll just leave it at that right now. A little behind the scenes stuff going on. It will be next Tuesday. We'll get the precise trigger control that's going to be out there. If you are interested in the what do you call it, description of this video, There is how you can enter. I'll tell you, I want to put the email out there. We're going to give away 10 of them, 10 of the PTCs next week. Email malia@poweronmarketing.com, and in the title, put Ghost Tactical. And all you got to do is put your name and address in your, you don't have to really put the address if you don't want. If you win, then they'll contact you to get your address. But if you want to go ahead and put your address in the body of the email, you don't have to like anything. You don't have to follow anyone. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to share nothing. Send an email to Malia with the subject is Ghost Tactical and your name, and you're entered. We're going to give 10 of them away next week. There's hopefully going to be a video coming this weekend if I can get YouTube to play nice. But the video will be coming out this weekend describing the precise trigger control and all of that. But yeah, that will happen next week. It was supposed to be tonight. Little scheduling conflict and life in other parts of the country are taking it. It's fine. Email malia@poweronmarketing.com. Subject Ghost Tactical, put your name in there, and you are entered into the drawing. We're going to give 10 of them away. 10 of them. It's pretty awesome that they're doing that. That was for the 300th show we just had last week. But we're going to do that. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Rich. I would have forgot. I'm not very smart. I'm glad you did that because there you go. I can talk about it. Clover,
what
you got going on?
Nothing. I don't do anything. I barely got that video out today. Barely. So
yeah,
it's a 380 showdown video. Thanks, John. By the way, John knows why. So
Only Fudge is right. Only Fudge would have been great over there. You know, I'm just saying.
Had a lot of fun with that one, even though with the 100-degree heat and I don't even know the humidity and everything else, it took literally all day. And finally, I got it uploaded 2 minutes before I actually scheduled I had like 2 minutes to schedule the, what am I thinking? The premiere, right? When I uploaded it.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I was 2 or 3 minutes late coming in here because of it. So
you act like that's something weird. That's always the case.
Barely got it in time because man, I got to get this released before 7, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least like 15 till. And so anyway,
I didn't finish it yet because I had to get in here, but I
understand.
I watched probably first 2 or 3 minutes of it. And I don't know if you were watching the live chat.
I get to the shooting right away. Pretty quick.
Yeah. But one of the greatest comments ever in a premiere was rendered during that video. Thanks to G Webbs. He said, "Is it bad when he has to use a shooting rest for a little 380 handgun?" And that was the greatest troll comment that I like.
Yeah, it really was, because had I not used the rest, I would have got 85 billion comments on, "Why didn't you use the rest?" So that was funny. I'll have to admit, I have to give it to Chief. But I will say, Sunday we had 2. That was our second Ghost and Clover in a row as far as the week. So if you haven't checked out those, were we all firearms? We were not all firearms. Yamil screwed us.
No, Yamil screwed us. He went Holly weird on us, you know.
But we were 2/3 firearm in that one. So if you haven't watched that one, go check it out. And if you haven't watched it because you want it to be all firearms, then there you go.
This is the one to probably go watch for the first hour. Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for coming on. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for watching. The conversation was great inside the panel. I really enjoyed this conversation. The conversation in the chat was wonderful. If you're out there watching in replay or listening in podcast, we invite you to come join the live show every Tuesday at 7 Central on our YouTube channel. Join the live. It's really fun. You'll get to see some people that are here most weeks. Great conversations happen. You're easy to ask us questions if you want, but joining the live show is really, really fun, because some of the stuff that you're going to see in replay or listen to in podcasts, I try to do a better job of everything that's being said that we're talking about. We repeat so that people can hear it in podcast form. But being here live is a different thing. So we invite you to do that as well. What's up? Oh, the Scottish American. Man, he's so fancy now that he's a citizen, isn't he? But yeah, great conversation tonight. Georgia Truckers out there says, good night, folks. Remember, Sky is the greatest gun ever, and he's out, he says. He is dropping like it's hot. He is literally mic dropping the Sky and leaving. So I understand that. Yeah, I understand that. It is not. But for those of you out there, he's lying to you. I'm just saying. Not a terrible, it's a terrible gun. I'm sorry. It's a terrible gun. I can sit there and say, oh, it's not bad. No, it's a bad gun. All right, guys, we're going to get out there. The biggest question that we answered tonight, that I tried to answer tonight, isn't Glock versus SIG, Glock versus CZ, Glock versus HK, Glock versus Smith & Wesson. The biggest question that we need to leave here on, and I'm going to run the panel right now. Were Rachel and Ross on a break? If you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. We're going to start with you.
100%.
100%.
Yes. 100% yes, correct?
Oh, yeah, 100% yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Chris?
Yes, yeah, they were.
All right. So on that note, we were on a break.